B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach. Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Baruch Hashem, we're here in Yerushalayim, trying to get closer to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, trying to learn a little bit more, trying to get a little bit of a break. It's not working at all. There's no break whatsoever. Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of different shiurim and meetings and this and that. So Baruch Hashem, we're keeping busy. I wanted to do at least one English shiur while we were here. To give some chizuk to the English speakers, especially all the ones that keep telling me every month when I'm coming to Israel, when are you coming to Israel, when are you coming to Israel. Finally I came to Israel and they're not here. So Baruch Hashem. So Baruch Hashem, we're here. Today's shiur is it's not going to be a funny shiur. It's going to be some funny things, but not funny shiur, just because we're in Elul. Elul is a time where we're supposed to get our, get closer to HaKodesh Baruch Hu. But how so? The Chachamim say that many people look at Elul as a negative thing. Why? You have Judgment Day. Judgment Day coming up in a month and a half, less than a month and a half. And on Rosh Hashanah, the Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah says that every single person gets judged on Rosh Hashanah, how much parnasah they're going to get, where they're going to live, they're going to die, they're going to get married, they're going to have kids, all of these different things. So Judgment Day on Rosh Hashanah is a very big deal. So many people look at it, okay, so the month of Elul, it's negative, maybe it's like a whole month of Tisha B'Av, but that's really the wrong way of looking at it. It's the wrong way of looking at it. What are you supposed to look at it as? Imagine a person got a life sentence in jail. He knows he did something wrong, he went to jail. And they told, how long are you going to be here? Forever. That's how long. So, Yossi, Amaslima. How long are you going to be here? Forever. So, Tikanti, מקווה שזה יישאר. So now, the person, he already has the expectation that this is his life. All of these criminals are his friends. All of the bars are his accessories. That's it. One day, somebody comes up to him and says to him, listen, you want to get out of here in a month? What is he going to say? No, of course. So I have a way for you to get out of here in a month. What are you going to do? Every day, you got to wake up at 3:30 in the morning. And you got to go to the guard that's on duty and tell him you're sorry. You didn't mean it. You didn't really know what you were doing. You were stupid. You're young. You made mistakes. I'm sorry. Every day. Now, if the guy says, 3:30 in the morning, no, that's the best time to sleep, 3:30 in the morning. That's when I'm already in the fifth dream. That's when I'm dreaming about this and that. No, I don't want to wake up at 3:30. Can you make it 5? Can you make it 6? A person like that deserves to be in jail for the rest of his life. On the other hand, another person says, deal, I'm there. I'm going to say I'm sorry every day, 3:30 in the morning. Why not? So that's really the opportunity we have on Elul, but it's not really just about waking up early, because really, Talmidei Chachamim, people that learn Torah, especially people that learn Torah during the day, during the night, they don't need to wake up for slichot. This is a very good custom for people to do slichot, but if it's going to interfere with your learning Torah, then you don't need to wake up early in the morning. You can pick up a different time to go to do slichot. But sometimes people, their entire Judaism is slichot. The whole year they didn't go to Beit Knesset, but slichot they like to sing. So people like that, yeah, they should go to slichot, but they should also go to the rest of the year. People that learn Torah seriously, they learn during the day, they learn during the night. Avrechim, if they're gonna be bothered with, they're gonna learn less because of slichot, it's better for them to go to slichot either during the night or do it once a week or something like that. But either way, the point of slichot is an opportunity to get closer to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, because we have Judgment Day. Now the question is, what are we really getting judged for? Now, if you look at the Torah says, Mechalel Shabbat mot yumat. Mechalel Shabbat, death penalty. It says that Mechalel Shabbat is considered like an idol worshipper. It says that a person does something like that is terrible, not good. But you guys are all religious. So what is irrelevant to you, Mechalel Shabbat? Nothing. Person keeps Shabbat. Person doesn't keep Shabbat, he pretty much has to understand that every second he's alive is a miracle. Because HaKodesh Baruch Hu promised if he violates Shabbat on purpose, he drives on Shabbat, he watches TV on Shabbat, he does all of these things, then Hashem is going to take his life. But if a person keeps Shabbat, then how is keeping Shabbat going to make, what is that relevant? It's not. On the other hand, you see another person, say, if you eat pig. If you eat pig, it's a big sin. If a person doesn't eat pig, because he lives in Israel, and Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of kosher food, it's all delicious, and it's not relevant to him. What is he going to do with it? Pig? It's not for me. I don't have to do tshuva for eating pig. If a person didn't kill anybody, at least not recently, and nobody knows about it, so he doesn't have to do tshuva for murder. He doesn't have to do tshuva for murder. So he starts looking at it. He's like, wait a minute, I'm religious. What do I have to do tshuva for? He starts thinking. Okay, 10 Commandments. Another God? No, one God. Use God's name in vain? Not even sure what that means. No. Idol? No. Well, the Buddha statue, but it's not really mine. I just borrowed it. No. All types of things. He does the cheshbon in his mind. I don't have to do tshuva. I have nothing. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't commit adultery. I didn't steal. Nothing. He's perfect. It's like, okay, so Elul for me is vacation. Is he right or is he wrong? If he was right, then why would the Chachamim make an important addition to our prayer every single day to do tachanun? Meaning that every single day we're supposed to say, I'm sorry for a bunch of things none of us think are guilty for. On the other hand, why is there a special month of Elul? Now, if you're going to tell me the special month of Elul is for all of the chilonim, all of the people that are secular to do tshuva, it's nice to think that, but it's really not. Why? Because the HaKodesh Baruch Hu, when he's talking about the Torah, he's not talking to just the chilonim. He's talking about to the datim also. He's talking to the religious people also, and even more so to the religious people. Because the more you know, the more the obligation is on you. So the question is, what are we supposed to work on during this time? So let's see. The Steipler Gaon, he has a sefer called Chayei Olam. And in this sefer, in Amud Lamed Vav, Perek Chaf Hei, he says, ואם ישאל השואל, איך אפשר שדברים בטלים ומבוטלים, בדתות ובשטותות, יתקבלו אצל רבבות ומיליונים? He says, if a person that asks question, an inquisitive person, asks, how is it possible that such null and void nonsense gets accepted by so many millions of people? Imagine somebody says, that because you don't look a certain way, you should be dead, like the Nazis. Or if they say that, if you don't act a certain way, you don't belong in a certain community. Or if you don't dress a certain way, you don't belong in a certain school. Or if, you believe in God, but you don't believe in God the same exact way as they do, it cancels you out. So a person that thinks about this nonsense that's out there today can easily connect to what the Steipler is saying. But he's not talking about just things that are, sometimes you could have an argument for them. He's talking about things that are outright ridiculous, null and void, nonsense. Something like somebody saying, God needs you. Anyone tells you God needs you, that's not God. Maybe it's your mother, maybe it's your cousin needs you, maybe it's your sister needs you, maybe you need yourself. God for sure doesn't need you. If he needs you, he's not God. But there are people that teach this, that God needs you. So this is the type of thought process. Or some people teach God is a man that looks just like you and me, but he has long hair. And he looks like a rock star. And he died, but then he's alive. But he died though. And that allows you to make all the sins in the world because he died. Some people believe this. So this is, for anybody that's normal, this is stupid. But a lot of people believe this stuff. So the Steipler asks the question, if a person that's an inquisitive person asks, how could such a thing happen? How could so many people believe such nonsense? How could it be? He says, first you have to know, it doesn't start from nothing. It doesn't just one day the guy decides that he believes in Christianity. One day he wakes up and he believes God needs you. One day he wakes up and he believes in Buddha. Doesn't work that way. It all starts how he's raised, what kind of education he gets when he's a little kid. If he goes to a secular school, he's going to get that type of education. If he goes to a modern school, that's the type of education he's going to get. If he's going to go to a school that is perfect and excels in, let's say, in mathematics, that's the way his mind is going to be. If he's going to go to a school that excels in Torah, that's the way his mind is going to be. So he says it all has to start with the way the chinuch starts when they're little kids. And usually with these fakers, he says, with these mizuyafim v'shkarim, these fakers and lies, מתחילים באיזו אחוז ללמד ילדים דברים כאילו בתור דברים משעשעים ומתאימים לדמיון הילד. They usually start teaching this type of stuff to little kids as if it's fun. This is going to have to stop. I'm sorry. תגיד לו, תביא לי איזה ספר, אני אעשה, תיקנתי את זה, אבל תביא איזה משהו שזה יפסיק כבר. אני לא יכול לעשות את זה כל השיעור. And so he says this all starts where they try to implant the seed on little kids. But how do they do it? They give them little cartoons or little fun things to do. Oh, let's do some show that looks fun. To make the kids use their imagination, to interest them, to get them to listen to the stories, and little by little they implant the story that they want inside these types of shows, inside these little books, inside this type of environment, and before you know it, the kid grows up, and that belief in whatever they want him to believe in gets stronger and stronger and stronger, so that by the time he's already 20, 25 years old, to him, to her, this is it. This is the emunah, this is what they believe. So now you ask people, listen, do you believe in Santa Claus? Now, if the amount of people that make fun of it wouldn't make fun of it, he would tell you yes. Why? Because that's how you grew up. That's how you grew up. But there's a lot of people that believe in Santa Claus. They just call him a different name. Different types of names, different types of fairy tales that they believe in. Why? They grew up this way. They grew up this way. So now, how does this have to do with us? He says that these types of false beliefs are everywhere. Now, when a person gets affected by any type of false belief, what ends up happening is that he realizes that he's not alone. Why? Because he's not the only customer. So what does he do? He starts asking other people questions. No, what did you think of Santa Claus? What did you think of Buddha? What did you think of God needs you? What did you think of all these things? And they start sharing ideas. And little by little they find out that they're not alone. And they little by little start realizing, wow, not only not alone, it looks like we're the majority. So that gives them chizuk. Then one day somebody tells them, by the way, you guys realize that you're all crazy? You believe in an idol, you believe in nothing, you believe in nonsense, you believe in a lie. No, there's no possible. Why? Look how many of us there are. So what happens? Because there's so many that believe the lie, that in itself gives them support to continue believing in it. Never once did they actually question, wait, are we really believing a lie? Or is there this guy just trying to fool with? Like, why? They're not really checking whether what they believe is a lie or not. They're just looking at numbers. Because I have a friend that's sitting next to me, and he believes the same thing. He likes to believe in flying reindeer. He likes to believe in all types of nonsense. Fine, that makes me feel comfortable. Because there's a lot of us, there's all billions of us, that gives them confidence to continue going in that way. Never for a second actually checking and testing what they actually believe in. This is what the Stipler Gaon says is the foundation of all lies and how they grow. And they prove their legitimacy because of the mass acceptance of the nonsense. And what ends up happening is they end up learning more and more about this stupidity, stupefy their mind, because these types of beliefs usually lead a person to doing wrong things, either worshiping a person, giving some type of sacrifice, believing all types of things that are heretical, all types of things. And these beliefs, they stupefy the mind and the heart to the point where the people start believing that this is what righteousness is and this is what love is. Meaning that the second somebody comes to them with the actual truth, they're like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what the truth is. God loves everybody. What do you mean? He loves even Hitler that killed millions of people? He loves Osama bin Laden? He loves Saddam Hussein? He loves the people that, he said he doesn't love everybody in his Torah. No, I don't think you're understanding it. Why? Because their mind has become so stupid, like their spiritual mind has become so stupid, that for them to believe something else, they have to literally be almost reincarnated while they're alive. So, he gives examples. One example he says, Dugma achat, לפני כ-30 שנה בערך, it is 30 years before he wrote this, so give it an extra 50 years. איזה רקע רשע מרושע יימח שמו וזכרו במדינת אשכנז בצירוף עוד ריקים. In one of the nations of Ashkenaz, some empty, wicked, evil person, may his name be blotted out, started a organization in the name of Nazism, Nazis, saying that the Germans, the wicked Germans, are the Aryan nation. They're the better ones. The Jews are filthy and despicable, and you need to uproot them from the world. Now, in the beginning, okay, there was a few people that hated us. There's always a few people that hated us, and his whole philosophy was not new. He was just depending on Martin Luther Yimach Shimo, that wrote a book called Jews and Their Lies in the name of Christianity. But he built this up, and you would think this guy is saying just kill all the Jews in that time's modern life. Like, why the Jews are doing well in Germany? Why? But before you know it, within 10 years. Millions and millions of people joined him in this belief. Millions and millions of people not only joined Hitler Yimach Shimo, but they took action. Another example, he says, is in Russia. What happened in Russia? That they turned Stalin into somebody holy. They actually thought he was God. He killed many more people than Hitler did. He killed his own people. His belief, his system worked against his own nation, but they continued believing in him to the point where they literally believed he was God. They said that he's going to live forever, and they actually believe this. Millions and millions of people. So now the disciple says, what do we see here? We see the hand of God here. The second the Jewish people lower their observance of Torah, that's the second that HaKadosh Baruch Hu starts using the Goyim as a way to get them back. But how? In this fashion, where the hatred usually goes to is the Jewish people. Atchalat Brikat Ol Rachmana Litzlan. This is the minute that the Jewish people started abandoning the Torah, all of a sudden these thoughts started taking ground, started picking up. Now he says, all lies begin with a real foundation that's mixed with lies in the name of good, love, truth, until they can justify the evil within evil. So just like the Gemara in Masechet Sotah, page 49, says that every lie, if it's going to stand, it has to have some element of truth. So now, if you look at all of these religions or false beliefs, the original foundation had to have truth in it, or else it wouldn't last. So he says all of these lies have some truth in them. And what ends up happening is that they mix the falsehood, their wicked beliefs, inside the truth, and little by little they start getting people used to the falsehood as if it's in the same level as the truth, until they get the people to believe that the evil is good and the good is evil. Now, unfortunately, what we've seen throughout history is that many times the leaders of this falsehood are not goyim. But many times we've seen throughout history that the leaders of the falsehood are Jews. Now, of course, there are many goyim that are yimach shemam v'zichram, that they hurt us and they want to continue hurting us, and may Hashem remove them from the world. But the power that a goy has as far as impact in the world is inconsequential in comparison to the lowest Jew in the world. So much so that Rabbi Chaim Volozhin says that Titus, Yimach Shemo, went into the Bet HaMikdash and he brought a prostitute in there, or two prostitutes into the Kodesh Kodeshim, took a Sefer Torah, put it on the floor, and made the act inside the Kodesh Kodeshim because he wanted to make HaKadosh Baruch Hu angry. Rabbi Chaim Volozhin says in the Sefer Nefesh Chaim, a Jew that thinks of a woman in his mind that's not his wife is much, much worse than Titus. Now you think, wait a minute, he went inside Kodesh Kodeshim and brought prostitutes and did the filthiest thing in the world, in the holiest place on planet Earth. How can you compare that to a Jew thinking of some Shem Yishmo? What's the difference? That goy, that Titus, it doesn't matter in the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed him to do different things. He's like less than a mosquito. But the Jew that is supposed to have HaKadosh Baruch Hu on his mind, this is the cheder yichud between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Your mind is the private room between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That mind, if it has some foreign woman, some filthy thought in it, that's the worst thing in the world. Why? Because this is a personal relationship between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu that has a much bigger impact in the world, in this world and the upper worlds. So now, we've seen throughout history that many of the leaders that have caused the most damage to Am Yisrael have been Jewish people. Nebuchadnezzar, Midrash says, he was one of the grandsons of Shlomo HaMelech. So the same Nebuchadnezzar that destroyed the Bet HaMikdash was Jewish. Goliath, what was he? He was Jewish. He had Ruth and Orpah. Ruth, the grandmother of the Mashiach. Her sister, Orpah. Orpah is the mother of Goliath. Ruth chose to go with Naomi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu merited her to bring David HaMelech into the world, bring the Mashiach to the world. Orpah thought, no, let me go back to having a good time. The Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah says she had 100 husbands on the same day. No one knows who their father is. But Goliath and his brothers came out of there. All of them giants, all of them enemies of Am Yisrael. Meaning she was Jewish. Enemy of Am Yisrael, Jewish. You've seen a lot of other people like that in recent history. During the Holocaust, Hitler had 150,000 Jews inside his army. 150,000 Jews documented inside the Nazi army. You had in the Russian army, all of the enemies, the biggest enemies of the Jewish people were the Yevsektia. Yevsektia were all Jews that hated Judaism, so much so that they would go to the Russians and tell on their brothers to go and literally kill rabbis. That was like their number one hobby in the world, number one mission in the world, to kill rabbis. So how does a Jew that on one hand has the ability to get to the highest level of Kedusha, highest level of significance on planet Earth, go to the lowest place in the world? So the Steipler Gaon says the following: כמו שעל הצדיקים שומרי התורה בשלמות ודבקים בה שורה רוח הקודש ואור התורה, just like the tzaddikim, those that observe the Torah with completion, with dveikut, they can get to a level where the Ruach HaKodesh rests upon them. כמו כן, על פורקי עול תורה שורה רוח HaTumah. On the ones that abandon the Torah way, they have something that's the equivalent of Ruach HaKodesh, but on the other side. It's called Ruach HaTumah. And it's not Yetzirah. There's two Yetzaras. There's the Yetzara that is the natural Yetzara, that's the bad midot that a person has. He's angry, he's arrogant, he's stingy, all of these different things. That's the natural Yetzara. But then there's a Yetzara that comes to him that is called a spiritual Yetzara. And this Yetzara is what makes a person makes the big sins. All of a sudden, she's single, she was looking to get married, she wasn't sure if she's not going to get married, she wasn't sure this, she wasn't sure that. She decides to go, you know what, let me have a good time with some non-Jew. Look, how did you go from this to this? Like, what happened? You were on a shidduch, you were waiting, it wasn't the right one, all of a sudden she decides to go, completely left field, and how? He was learning Torah, he did everything good, learned every day, made time to learn in the morning, made time to learn at night, all of a sudden decides to go to a club with his friends, and Hashem HaChem, what happens in that club? How did you go so far? Or you see a guy say, listen, I've been a avrech. A guy is an avrech, 5 years, 10 years, learns everything. You know, the wife says, listen, it's tough for us to survive on $500 a month. Why don't you go get some, a job and make some money? So he says to the Rosh Kollel, I'm sorry, I can't be an avrech anymore. I have to go work. My wife needs more money, needs more help. So he leaves the kollel. Now you would think, okay, but at least he learned Torah for the last 20, 30 years. Do you know how many avrechim tell me that their chavuta that left the kollel became worse than a chiloni? Like completely, like he left the kollel, within a short period of time, they abandon everything to the highest extreme at times. Not all the time, but at times they abandon things in such an extreme way. And you're like, what happened to this guy? How could this be? You were just learning Baba Batra. You were learning Masechet Genom. You were learning all these different things. How do you go from this to this? Ruach HaTumah. Ruach HaTumah starts, Rabotai, with a single act. A person allows himself to make a certain sin, and only requires a certain sin. He makes a certain sin. He wastes seed. He's promiscuous. He doesn't watch his eyes in a certain way. He connects himself to wicked people. He does certain things. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Ruach HaTumah falls on him. And that Ruach HaTumah, Hashem Yishmor v'Yatzil, it's the equivalent of Ruach HaKodesh. How many of you would you like to have Ruach HaKodesh? Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to have Ruach HaKodesh? All of us hear stories about somebody that has Ruach HaKodesh. Oh, he had Ruach HaKodesh, that's how he knew. He had Ruach HaKodesh. I want to have Ruach HaKodesh. I thought I had Ruach HaKodesh, but then I realized I was dreaming about something. You know, everybody wants Ruach HaKodesh. How many people think they have Ruach HaTumah? No, of course not me. Are you sure? Not you? Are you sure? What happened on the way to the thing? You didn't go to the Knesset, instead you went to somewhere else. That's Ruach HaTumah. Ruach HaTumah is very dangerous. He says this, and in essence what ends up happening is that this Ruach HaTumah brings the person to start believing and publicizing all of the shtuyot ve'evedim, all of those false beliefs. All of a sudden, he was doing great. He was helping the rabbi. He was publicizing Torah. He's been a teacher for 20, 30 years. All of a sudden, he starts teaching heresy. What happened? 20 years you were good. 30 years you were good. All of a sudden, he's teaching that he is God. He's teaching he's Mashiach. He's teaching God needs you. He's teaching idolatry. He's teaching. How did you go? Ruach HaTumah. Ruach HaTumah. He did something wrong, it went out of control. And he kept doing it, and the Ruach HaTumah grows just like Ruach HaKodesh has levels. So now this Ruach HaTumah, he said, he brings Rabbi Yisrael Nisalant. You know, the Stipler Gaon was one of the Talmidim of the Yeshivat Navardok. The Sabbath Navardok one time heard that somebody was complaining about the Stipler when he was still a young man. He said, it's Elul right now, and this Yaakov is not coming to the Musar Shiurim. Every day they have Musar Shmuz, and he's not coming. The Sabbath Navardok says, no, him, you don't have to worry about him. He's at a level already, he learns Musar from the Gemara. Everybody learns Gemara, but he's already at a level where he can actually learn Musar from the Gemara. There's a lot of people learn Gemara, but they have no idea what Musar is. He's already at a level where he's learning Musar from the Gemara. You don't have to worry about it. He's going to be one of the Gedolei Ador. And that's what happened. So the Stipler Gaon, he brings Rabbi Yisrael Nisalant, which was the teacher of the Sabbath Navardok. And he says that he talks about this Ruach HaTumah, this natural one, the spiritual one, the two different ones. One is the gets a person to just have bad midot and just do wrong things, but leads him to do really a big wrong thing, to the point where the Ruach HaTumah can make a person disgusted from mitzvot. Absolutely disgusted from mitzvot. To confuse him to such a point where he will do things that he used to like, now he despises them. And the things that are his passion, that he was most passionate about, become simply unbearable to him. And he says that I'm not talking about those people that grew up secular and their parents gave them education among the goyim. I'm talking about people that in their beginnings, they got the chinuch of the Birket or the Torah and Munah, and afterwards they abandoned the Torah, Rahmana litzlan, and little by little this Ruach HaTumah went upon them. This also explains where sometimes people get disappointed, to say the least, when they see somebody that was good. It could be a celebrity, a singer, it could be a rabbi, whatever it is, and all of a sudden the guy goes off the derech. All of a sudden he goes completely off. He started off good, and all of a sudden the guy goes completely off. Completely, like, you have no idea what happened to this guy. This is what happened. This is what it is. They made one act that allowed this Ruach HaTumah to go on them, and they let it go out of control. They allowed it to continue growing. It's a cancer. But cancer that unfortunately does not have any limits. So now, what does this have to do with all of us yet? Some of us can say, oh yeah, you know what, maybe sometimes I have it, sometimes somebody I know has it, different people connect to it. But let's see. The Midrash Rabbah in Parashat Re'eh, Siman Dalet, HaKodesh Baruch Hu says to us that, He gives us the bracha and the klala. But what does it mean, bracha and klala? Hashem says, if you keep the Torah and its commandments, then I'll keep you. I'll protect you. What are you protecting us from? You can say, protecting us from a bad life, protecting us from a gehenom, protecting us from all these different things. No, the Midrash says something else. HaKodesh Baruch Hu says, look, there's not even 1/24 of a se'ah. A se'ah is you need 40 se'ah for a mikveh. So 1/24, small little area, small little box, there's not even 1/24 of space of a se'ah in the universe that is not full of thousands of mazikin, demons. There's not even one small space in the entire universe that's not full of thousands of mazikin. Those mazikin, the Midrash says, have to cover their eyes, their face. Why? If they look at somebody, it harms them. So long as you keep the Torah, I keep their faces blindfolded. They can't look at you. The second a person abandons the Torah, okay, you peek at him, you peek at him, you peek at him, you peek at him, and that's it. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to punish a person. He doesn't have to cause him to... Automatically, one of those mazikin is given the permission to look at a person, Shem Yishmo, something happens. All of a sudden he has a little growth. All of a sudden loses this. All of a sudden there's a problem here, problem there. Where is that? Less protection. Less protection. The second there's less protection, that's where the damage comes in. Istarta panecha iti nival, David HaMelech says. The second you hid your face, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I got scared. Why? Because the second HaKadosh Baruch Hu lowers the protection, there's something else that's there. There's no such thing as like a vacuum. There's nothing. There's something there. There's always something there. And he tells you over here, there's not only something there. If we were really allowed to see what's really next to us at all times, we would simply die from fear. And there's not even one small ounce of space in the entire universe that doesn't have these things. Why? Because they're created. So then the Tosefta in Masechet Avodah Zarah, in the section 1, in the first chapter, section 3, Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Yossi Aglili says the following: If you see a tzaddik that's going on the way, and you want to go on the way, you want to go on a journey, you want to go to America, chas v'shalom, you want to go to, I don't know, you want to go to Eilat, to go do some, to help people do Teshuva. You want to go to Tel Aviv, Hashem Yishmo. You want to do all types of different things in the world. You want to go on the way, right? Okay, beseder. Before you go, find out if there's a tzaddik that's going too. Why? If a tzaddik is also going, you can wait up to 3 days just to go on the same time as him. Not that you're going like you'd be best friends with him. You know, in those days they travel by ship. No, ship has a lot of people, it's hundreds of people. Delay your trip up to 3 days, or expedite it 3 days, meaning go 3 days early, just to be on the same ship as this tzaddik. Not that you know him, or you ask him for a blessing, or even knows who you are. Just to be in the same vicinity as him. The same goes where if a rasha is going, delay your trip or expedite your trip 3 days, just not to be on the same ship as him. Not to be on the same train as him. Now this is a little problematic today, because that means that you're going to have to fly everywhere by yourself. You have to have your own Boeing 767 or something by yourself to go everywhere, because the world unfortunately is not full of Torah scholars. But the reality is why? Why is this the case? Why do I have to be concerned about being on the same boat or plane or train or bus as a tzaddik, and not on the same boat, plane or train as a rasha? Why? So the Tosefta says, because the tzaddik is accompanied by angels. Those angels give protection to everything that's next to him. The rasha is accompanied by those same demons we just talked about. He's accompanied by them. And you say, yeah, but they're looking at him. They're damaging him. No, it's not just him. It's whatever's next to him. Oy la rasha v'oy l'shcheno. Woe to the rasha, woe to his neighbor. So now, you have to identify the rasha. Most people think of a rasha as somebody that is hurting other people. He steals from people, he beats them up, he does things like that. That's what people think. They're right, but not completely right. Why? Because just being bad against one person or other people doesn't necessarily, it's not the only thing. There are many people that are bad against Hashem. I did a shiur in Givat Shaul on Friday, and we're talking to a bunch of avrechim and rabbanim and so on Shabbat, and somewhere in the middle of the shiur, 3/4 into the shiur, somebody from a different keilah comes in, he's listening to the shiur, and all of a sudden he says, yeah, but Rabbi, show me one person that's as good as me and how I treat people. Now what was I talking about? Nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with anything that he was talking about. I was talking about the Shas, I was talking about Gemara, I was talking about all types of other things. This guy out of nowhere is telling me, show me another person that's good like me to other people. Even nobody knew what to do with this. So, Baruch Hashem, I have a little bit of experience. I told him, listen, it's good that you're good with other people, but it's not necessarily as significant as being good with Hashem. That's why. Being good with other people is not the most important thing. I said, well, listen, if you're not nice to a person, maybe Hashem is going to send you to one of the chambers in Gehenom for a week, for a month, for a day. But if you're Mechalel Shabbat, you go into the 7th chamber, you're never coming out. So there's a little bit of a difference between the two. One's between a friend, one's between Hashem. Let's not put the same, they're not in the same caliber. So Baruch Hashem, he understood and he paid attention for the rest of the shiur. But the thing is though, is that sometimes we think, wait, if I'm not nice to other people, or he's not nice to other people, that means he's a bad guy. Why? Why is that the natural inclination of most people? Because most people want people to be nice to them. So they relate to those things. They say, if he's bad to people, he must be a bad person. And that's the evil person. Why? Because I don't want what he's doing to other people to be done to me. Yeah, but what about the fact of all the evil that he's doing to his creator? Where he's worshiping an idol, he's violating Shabbat, he's doing all types of things against Hashem. What about that? Most people don't think of that. Why? Because they don't connect to those things. So first and foremost, we have to understand that the wicked people, the evil people, they have not just one address. They have multiple addresses. The other thing is that sometimes when we don't know that the evil that a person does against Hashem is as significant as it is, it can make us much more inclined to connect ourselves to those bad people because we don't see them as bad. One of the examples we have in the Torah is in the book of Kings and also in the book of Chronicles. There was a city called Tarshish, and Tarshish had a road leading to another place called Etzion Gaver. Etzion Gaver is the beaches of Eilat today. Etzion Gaver. Now in the book of Chronicles 2, chapter 20, verse 35 till 37, it talks about how there was a road between the two, and Yoshaphat, which was a righteous king, he wanted to do some business, to make money. And there was another guy, there was Achaziah. Achaziah was a Rasha Merusha. He was also a king. He was the son of Achav. And he also wanted to do business. So what did Yoshaphat do? Oh, listen, we have some ships. We want to transfer the stuff from Tarshish to Etzion Gaver to do all, make some money. Each ship, let's say, is worth 10, 20, $50 million. Each person could invest in it. What's the big deal? We're not friends. We're not going to have dinner together. We're not even going to see each other. We're not going to have coffee. There's no phone calls. Nothing. Just simple. The ship is worth, let's say, 50 million. I'll put 25. You put 25. That's it. And even the conversations are through messengers. The Torah says Yoshaphat was a righteous king. Achaziah was a Rasha Merusha. They went into business together on a simple trade. HaKodesh Baruch Hu sent a message. The ships broke down at Etzion Gaver. They completely broke. The merchandise is all over the place. HaKodesh Baruch Hu sent the prophet Eliezer ben Dodavahu. And he told Yoshaphat that because he partnered with the Rasha Achaziah, he lost money. So now Yoshaphat is saying, okay, you know what? Let me at least let me get the get out of this situation. I don't want to deal with all this. Achaziah, on the other hand, also got the message that this is the reason why the money is lost. So he knows that Yoshaphat doesn't want to do business with him anymore. So he sends Yoshaphat a message. He says, listen, you know what? I understand. You don't want to do business with me anymore. That's why it happened. Fine. I have some servants. I have some slaves. Let me go send them to the ship. So at least pick up the stuff. So I could, you get your money back. I'm not going to charge you anything for it. Yoshaphat says, no, not even that. Why? Once I got the message that it's the fact that I can't even be connected to you in any way, that's it. Let the whole thing be lost for all I care. Why? It's already din shamayim. Meaning that the second that you open even a small, tiny opening to a wicked person to enter your life, you're also allowing all of those demons and all of that Ruach Tum'ah and all of that other garbage to come along with it. So now, this is something that many people don't pay attention to, especially when it comes to money, especially when it comes to business. Because most people figure, I need to make a living, I have bills, I have rent, I have mortgage, I have food to eat, I have kids to feed, I have all types of things to do. So they figure, I'm going to do what I got to do to make a living. And little do they know that sometimes because of the way that you're making a living is the reason of why you have many of the problems that you do. Meaning it's not that you have a certain profession that is the reason why you're not making a lot of money. Because there are plenty of people that are in a dog food business. Who would have thought 50 years ago that dog food would become a multi-billion-dollar business? There are many people in the Q-tips business, Q-tips. Who would have thought that there are billions of dollars to be made in Q-tips? There are many people in all types of plastic wrappers business. Who would have thought there are billions of dollars to be made in plastic wrappers for all types of products? But then there are people that could be in a real estate business, in all types of fancy schmancy types of businesses that are known to make a lot of money. They could be lawyers, they could be doctors, but they're also peddlers because they don't have money to pay the rent. Why? Because sometimes a person can bring that Ruach Tumah on himself, and not even from his own actions that he is going against Hashem, simply from partnerships that he's involved in. One of the things that I've been speaking against over the last several years is this wicked business That's mamash the Satan himself attacking Am Yisrael again with cash advance. In so many words, lending money with high interest. Now, everyone knows that a Jew is not allowed to lend another Jew money in charge of interest. Now, of course, there's if a Jew is a mechalel Shabbat, his halachic treatment is as if he's a goy. So technically, if you did charge him interest, you're allowed to. Rabbi Ovadia paskins that way, and many other paskin that way. But they don't recommend you doing it anyway, simply because it'll get you used to charging Jews interest. And number two, if he does tshuva, you have a very serious problem. So generally speaking, Jews charging other Jews interest is a very, very bad idea, because whoever's involved in the transaction, whether it's the lender, the borrower, the broker, all of them have no olam haba. All of them are in very, very serious problems. So you would think, oh, this is clear cut, this is known already throughout all of our history. What's the problem? The problem is that Jews are known for being in the lending business throughout all of history. Even from the time of Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech made a takana, Jews are not allowed to be in the lending business and charge interest. Not Jews and not goyim. Of course, not everybody listened. And throughout all of history, we've had many, many problems because of it. So now, over the last 20, 30 years, this horrific business of cash advance has picked up its steam, and it's caused a lot of trouble, where the majority of the most successful companies in that business, in that high interest lending business, are not only Jews, but they're Jews that are religious. They have the shtraimel, they have the hat, they have the rabbinical title, they have the kollel background, they have the yeshiva background, and so on and so forth. You go into an office, you think it's a kollel. Go into an office, you think it's a yeshivat mir. But the reality is, it's a world apart. It's a world apart, and it's an entire industry. It's not one or two companies. We're talking about hundreds of companies. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars that are being lent, and they're being lent at very, very high interest. The normal bank rates today with low interest rates, 4, 5, 6%. If you have bad credit, let's say 10, 12, credit card, 25%, that's it, finished. Other than that, go to the mafia if you want to pay more. But in so many words, that's where it goes. Cash advance business, if you have a really nice guy and he's not an outright murderer, he's going to charge you 45 to 50%. But if he's a standard normal cash advance person, 80 to 400%. Now, this is gezel. It's not considered lending. It's considered stealing. I had an event, I was sitting with Rav Gidon ben Moshe just last week. I was talking to him about this business. Rabbi Yaron ben Moshe is not only one of the Gedolei Ador, but he's also the Av Bedin of business in Yerushalayim. Meaning, you're not going to get anyone that knows more about business in the halachic aspects of it than Rav Gidon. I'm starting to tell him about it. Within the first few minutes, he says, "You ruined my dinner." I said, "Well," he goes, "This is gezel, what you're telling me. It's a stealing. You're telling me Jewish people are dealing with it?" I said, "Not just Jewish people, rabbis. We're talking about people that are, frumer than frum, are behind this business." He says, even Eter Iska would not work on such a business. Before I even told him that they give Eter Iska, he already told me, even Eter Iska is null and void for such a business. You can't use Eter Iska for such a thing. 40%, 50% interest, 400%, needless to say. So now, Rabotai, what's happened is that we have a history of this. I've done a handful of shurim, maybe more, maybe 10 shurim or so, give or take, about this business with all types of sources from the Torah about how it's forbidden. Rabbi Ephraim, God bless him, he wrote a tshuva, which B'ezrat Hashem we're going to publish in the next Sefer, Achtov L'Yisrael. 17 pages, halachic tshuva, and in so many words, when you read this tshuva, if you understand what it says, you have to be a Talmid Chacham a little bit to understand some of the lingo. But you understand this tshuva, and you don't even know how did somebody get himself to such a hole. Because the hole is so big here, it's so obvious that it's a hole. You're like, this is the Grand Canyon. How did they not know? How did these rabbis not know and continue not knowing and continue writing a teriska for this illegal business? This business that's full of corruption, this business that's full of chilul Hashem. And in this Teshuva, Rabotai Yekarim, you're going to see a few things where it's literally unbelievable that there are actually any Jewish people, needless to say religious Jewish people, in this business. There's actually a point of why I'm giving and why I'm telling you this, believe me. It's not just just for another shiur to be out there, which I'll get to in a moment. Here he says, first and foremost, a person needs to know that lending money and charging interest has a lot of problems altogether. That we already covered. Many of the Chachamim, including Shlomo HaMelech, forbid it. Forbid charging interest. Now you're going to tell, yeah, they forbid it for the Jews. No. The prohibition is to not charge goyim interest. It's needless to say, the Torah forbids you from charging Jews interest. The Torah already forbids you charging interest. When the Chachamim got involved into it and started clarifying the law, it says, no. Now you also have to understand that there's also a limitation of what you're allowed to charge the goyim. People think that if you're allowed to charge the goyim interest, you're allowed to charge whatever you want. Some say you're not allowed to charge them anything. But some that say that you're allowed to charge them say that it has to have only one of two conditions. Either because you're a Talmid Chacham, and therefore you have a limited amount of time to work, because you're learning Torah all day. So you do, let's say, one loan a month, just to make ends meet. Or you're only doing it just enough to make ends meet. You're not a Talmid Chacham, but you're doing it just enough to pay your minimum bills, not your luxury, your boat, and your second car, and your fifth house. No, you're doing, meaning even the ones that allow charging the goyim interest, limited to two categories. Either you're a Talmid Chacham, and since you're going to deal with with other people that are goyim, you're not going to be affected by them because you're learning a lot of Torah. If you're a Talmid Chacham and you're in that level, you're allowed to do as much as you want of it. On the other hand, if you're a regular person, you're allowed to do it. Minimum amount, the maximum amount is just to pay your bills. But literally, you're living, just a few lines above poverty level. You're not building any mansions with this. So now the Ran, one of the Rishonim, says, in his generation, 800 years ago, how did all of the rabbis that allow these lending to happen and all of the people that are allowing themselves to be in the lending business all turn into Talmidei Chachamim suddenly? Because surely they're making much more than what they need to live. They're doing a lot more. And we're talking about 800 years ago. So they must be Talmidei Chachamim. How could they all be Talmidei Chachamim? I've never heard of any of these people. So if he's talking about in his generation 800 years ago, needless to say in our generation, all of these people, okay, so you're religious, you keep Shabbat, you went to yeshiva for a few years, but it doesn't make you a Talmid Chacham. The more you read Talmidei Chachamim, the more you realize how far, people are from Talmidei Chachamim. So how did everybody become Talmidei Chachamim all of a sudden? They could do this. So now, the exceptions that are actually made are so precise that most Chachamim, they talk about this as this is obviously forbidden. And again, it's not forbidden just for the Jew. The Jew is already a pshita. Everybody knows you're not going to lend the Jews money. We're talking about lending money with interest to goyim. But now the lending money with interest to goyim that everybody's talking about, that it is permissible under those conditions, what kind of lending is it? It's lending with interest. That maximum rate is what's permissible by the government. That's the average rate. Meaning, let's say if it's bank rates, the bank is average, let's say 10%, that's what you're allowed to charge. You're not allowed to charge 15% or 20% or 15%. No, you're not allowed to do that. So needless to say, you're not allowed to charge 50 and 100 and 200%. No one allows that in history. Even the most liberal of opinions doesn't allow such a thing. That everyone conclusively calls gezer. That's outright stealing. So now the Chachamim are saying here that this is not a recent problem only. This is a problem that many have been trying to toil into to permit it and to try to make money out of this situation for years by twisting halakha. Their opinions were twisted, their minds were twisted, so they said, listen, yeah, but you have a Rambam that says that, in a pasuk in the Torah, it says that Nochi Tashich, that you're not allowed to charge the Jew interest, but the Nochri, you charge interest. So the Abarbanel says, no. You're not understanding the verse. You're not understanding the Rambam. It doesn't say that there's a mitzvah to charge the goy interest. What he's saying is, if you're a Jew and you're borrowing money from the goy, make sure to pay him the interest that you agreed to pay him. La nochi tashich, the nochi, the goy that you agreed to pay him interest, pay him the interest. Why? Because if you don't pay him the interest, it's chilul Hashem. So make sure to stand by your word. That's all it says. That's what the Abarbanel says. You thought that what you think that Hashem says is a special mitzvah to charge the goyim interest. Why? And anyway, even if you want to say la nochi tashich, that you're allowed to charge the goy in interest, where do you see a nochi in the world today? Who is the nochi? The nochi is the 7 Canaanite nations. That's who the nochi is. Edom and Ishmael, they're not the nochi, they're not the Canaanite nations. Edom and Ishmael, they're called in the Torah achicha. They're called your brothers. Meaning that even if you want to use the permission to the verse to say that charge the nochi interest, you still can't charge the Christians and the Catholics and the Arabs the interest. You still can't do it. Why? They're not Canaanites. There's no Canaanites in the world. So here you see that when the Chachamim toil with this, you're like, wait, how does somebody allow this still? What are they relying on? What are they relying on to allow an entire empire of business to literally make billions of dollars, and many buildings are being built, because some religious buildings are being built because of the money that's being made from this industry, and I would say many are being built because of this industry. What are they all relying on? That's the one thing that you keep scratching your head and trying to figure out. It's not like, okay, if you're talking about the secular world, people that are connected to pornography, they're connected to casinos, they're connected to all types of, bad things. It's like, yeah, they're relying on nothing. They're relying on their own opinions. But here you're talking about rabbis. Here you're talking about people that have a Torah background. What are they relying on to allow such a business? When you have a history full of blood, full of Jewish blood being spilled because of this business. Not just now in recent history. Then you have the one of the scariest things that's in this Teshuva is the words of the Gaon Rabbi Yecheskel Landau. Rabbi Yecheskel Landau says that there's a history of this business. This is already many years ago. And he says that even if you want to charge interest, you're limited. He said you're not really allowed to charge interest from the nations around us that are not Jewish if they're doing good for us. Meaning, if they're not anti-Semitic, if they're allowing you to stay in their country without persecuting you, if they're allowing you to live among them in peace, you're not allowed to charge them interest. Why? Because charging them interest is kfui tova. It's ungratefulness. They believe in God. They believe in the 5 books of Moses. They allow you to live in peace, and you're charging them interest. And not only charging them interest, you're charging them more than the country charges its own people. You're doing 2 evils, says the Rav Landau. 2 evils with this. One is you're charging interest altogether. That in itself is an evil, he says. 2, according to halacha, you're considered din rodef. What's a din rodef? Someone is trying to kill you. Who is he trying to kill? You're trying to kill the Jewish people. Because your actions are going to make our smell stinky in the noses of the goyim. Why? They say, look at these Jews. They own all the banks. They own all the pawn shops. They own all the cash advance businesses. We owe them all this money. Look, he's charging me 80% this month. He's charging me 100%. All the goyim are going to hate the rest of the Jews that are not related to your garbage business. They don't even know anything about your business. They don't even know that you're in that business. But the goy will hate them nonetheless. Why? Because of you. You are a rodef, according to halacha, he says. What's a rodef? Somebody comes to kill you, you have to kill them first. You're allowed to kill them. Now again, we're not saying to kill anybody, chas v'shalom, but what we're trying to tell people here is that you have an entire industry where many people are religious among them. Majority is not an exaggeration. According to Rav Landa, one of the Gdolei Hador, they're all rodfim. This is like a nightmare among nightmares. This is like years ago, we came out with the statistics and all the proofs that the wigs, in essence, if you have a wig that's coming from real hair, it's virtually impossible for that hair not to be connected to the idolatry of India. A lot of people hated that news. You can't challenge it, you can't disprove it because we have statistical facts. We have people in India showing us what's going on over there. But the point is, sometimes people don't want to hear it. No. You're saying that all of the Jewish women, the righteous women, they're sinning. That's not nice to say. What nice? I'm telling you for you. What am I creating this news to make money out of it? I have a hat store or something. I shorted the wigs industry. What do I care about you wearing a wig or not? It doesn't make a difference to me. Same concept here. You have one of the Gedolei Hador saying, person is in the cash advance business. If Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen was next to him, he'd kill him on the spot, just like he killed Zimri. Why? He's considered a rodef. Now, to have an entire industry this way is a very, very big problem. Now, Chachamim bring this in history. Rav Michael HaKohen Baruch, he writes in his Sefer Zichron Av Ubno, page 334, 335, he says, we already know what happened to us in Ukraine. All the horrible things that happened to the Jewish people in Ukraine. Not a lot of people donated a lot of money to help the Ukrainian army and their Jewish president because he loves Judaism so much, even though he voted against us every single time he had the opportunity in the UN. But everyone that actually looked at history knows that we have a very, very bad history with Ukraine. We got tortured worse there than we did by the Nazis. Rav Michael HaKohen Baruch says, what's the reason? One of the reasons. He says, because there were Jews before all the persecution came, the Jews that were over there were charging people 100% interest rates to the Goyim. They were in this business, they were charging people interest, but not 5%, but 10%. He writes in his book, 100% interest rate. You borrow 100% interest, you give me 200. In Morocco, same thing. Morocco Jews, now this is not just the Ashkenazi thing, Moroccan Jews. What do they have anything to do with this business? A lot to do with this business. Why? In history, he says in the years 1873 to 1900, the Jews that came to Morocco, lending money to the Moroccans with high interest, to the point where they hated the Jews because of it. Caused a lot of anti-Semitism. So now you have a situation where history has shown time and time again that this is not a new business, it's just a new name. In the 1100s, late 1100s, in the UK, there was a pogrom against Jews. They murdered a bunch of Jews. The king was protecting them for a while until he left for some vacation. The second he left, literally they murdered thousands of Jews in one day. Why? High interest loans. High interest loans. So this nightmare of a business or industry has caused us a lot of damage. And therefore, when you look at the sages that have written about interest, charging to the goyim, you see that they don't speak very nicely about it. You see, in fact, that they say some very harsh things, similar to what Rav Landau says, that literally this is a business that is not only some consider it 100% gezel, that it's not allowed, you're stealing money from them, but either way they say that this is something that can cause chilul Hashem, which is the biggest sin you can make, and last but not least, it's something that creates anti-Semitism. Lastly, in his Teshuva, Ephraim brings the Maharsha, And he says that a Jew is not allowed to charge interest to the non-Jew, because the non-Jew, as long as the non-Jew is being nice to him, is allowing him to live in peace, like we said before. And in fact, according to halacha, the Jew is obligated to be kind to the non-Jew that's nice to him. If the non-Jew is a Nazi, is an Arab terrorist, he's one of these people, you have no obligation to help him or be kind to him. But if he's nice to you, it doesn't matter where he lives. He can live in America, he can live in England, he can live in Afghanistan. It doesn't make much of a difference. But if he's nice to you, if he's kind to you, according to the Torah, you are obligated to return the kindness to him, and not only not charge him this high interest. The Maharsha says you have to charge him free, no interest, like he's a Jew. Alva belo neshech. That's what you're supposed to do. Now you go tell this to all the bankers and the Wall Streeters and the people in all these types of lending businesses. Yeah, by the way, not only you're not allowed to charge your fellow brothers, you're not allowed to charge them interest, but also the nice goyim, also them you're not allowed to charge interest. What are you going to see? All the keepers go on the floor. All the beards shaved off, everybody's clean cut all of a sudden. He doesn't want to be religious anymore. Why? No, come on, this is too fanatic for me. Now how could it be, the point of all of this is, how could it be that you go to shul, you keep Shabbat, you give tzedakah, your kids go to yeshiva, you went to yeshiva, but you're connected to this evil business? How could it be? How could it be? Ruach HaTumah. Ruach HaTumah is the only thing that could explain it. You did something wrong somewhere, some unkosher deal, some unkosher relationship, something you did that allowed the Ruach HaTumah to come on, and you let it get out of control. Little by little, the non-kosher business became badatz in your eyes. What? I'm making parnasah. You know how much money I donate? I built that yeshiva and that yeshiva. He thinks that all of those yeshivot are mitzvot. He doesn't realize there's Jewish blood that could be spilled because of those yeshivot and the buildings that he's building. Because the Ruach HaTumah what is it the Ruach HaTumah does then? No, what you're doing is chesed. You're helping the nations by giving them the money that they need, even though they're willing to pay 150% interest. It's not your fault. You're not putting a gun to their head, telling them you have to borrow the money. You're not forcing them. It's not your fault that they want to pay that interest. Nobody else would lend them the money. So you're being extra kind to them by lending them the money. He'll rationalize the most evil thing in the world. The guy doesn't have food to eat, but he comes to you, listen, can you lend me $10,000? Sure, only 300% interest. Okay, fine, just give it to me tomorrow. Okay, no problem. He thinks, oh, see, I'm such a nice guy. I helped this guy get $10,000 so he could eat. That's not helping him. That's trapping him. That's trapping him. That's putting him in a place where he can't get himself out. He can't get himself out. He would have managed getting a few $100s to eat. But to manage to get a few $100s every week to pay your interest, that he's probably not going to manage. He's going to have to continue borrowing more and more money until he eventually pretty much either commits suicide or declares bankruptcy or wins the lotto or some other unusual type of behavior. So now the question is, we know the business is bad. We know that the history of the business is not new. It's something that is as ancient as our people. We know that according to Chachamim, real Chachamim, not your junkyard people that are writing a teriska like everything is allowed as long as you give them maaser. Some guy told me, no, my rabbi is a dayan. He's a dayan in New York and he allowed me to do all this. I said, you're a dayan and you are going to the same place, don't worry. No, we could have a conference call. What conference call? I don't need a conference call. There's no debate. There's no debate. It's like people say, why don't you have a debate with Manis Friedman? There's no debate. He's a kofar. There's no debate. There's nothing to debate here. Oh, why don't you debate the Christians? Why? A debate is only if you can prove what I say wrong. There's no debate. You're an idol worshiper. There's no debate. We don't debate with things that are the polar opposite of us. There's not, what am I looking for, fans? What is this, an entertainment show? We're fighting for the truth to help people get closer to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, not to entertain people. There's no debates. Debate is if your life is on the line, like the Ramban. The Ramban didn't want to debate, even though he won the debate in Barcelona. His life was on the line for the rest of his life. We don't debate. It's not a Jewish thing to debate. But all of a sudden, why don't you debate? Why? He's an idol worshiper, he's a heretic, or he's a wicked person. What's their debate? What, do I want to be like him? Do I want to be in the same room as him? What is it you're going to get out of it? Fans. I'm not looking for fans. I'm looking to help people. And that's the problem. People are looking for fans. Sometimes the rabbis are looking for fans. The dayan is looking for fans. So he's willing to write an eteri ska on an agreement that is literally guaranteeing people Gehinnom. And not only those people, but everybody around them is now in jeopardy. Why? Because the second that agreement is signed, the second that contract is signed, the second that person gets the money, that according to the Torah is a sin, all types of demons are created. All of them are allowed to open up their masks and damage whoever's next to that person. Hashem Yishmo. He comes to your shul, you're in danger. He's on your Shabbat table, you're in danger. He's on your bus, you're in danger. He's in your community, you're in danger. Meaning, there is no such thing as, I'm not in the business, what do I care? No, Habibi, you don't understand. He built the building. He's the one who donated, Mr. Steve Cash Advance Chips. Donated. You're in danger. This is what people don't understand. The damage is for all of us. We're all in a situation where you don't know which way to go, right, left. Now, of course, the Yetzer Hara, unfortunately, he works hard. He works so hard that if we only worked half as hard as him, we get all of Am Yisrael to do Teshuva. What did the Yetzer Hara do? The Yetzer Hara says it's not enough that he destroyed many people in the frum world and their families with his corrupt business, many yeshivot, many frum families. It's not enough. What does he do now? Yetzer Hara came to Israel. You see, in America, if you tell these people, who do you hire? They're going to tell you, we hire kids out of yeshiva and avrichim. Those are usually the top candidates. You know, we're on Wall Street. You want to interview people. Who are usually the best people to interview for a job? No, who are the best people to interview for a job? For Wall Street jobs? Athletes. Guys that are former athletes. Or former soldiers. Why? Why soldiers and athletes? Because you know that they have what it takes. They have commitment. They're willing to wake up at some god-awful hour, 4 o'clock in the morning. They're willing to work pretty much until they bleed out of their eyes. They're willing to do whatever it takes to win. Because that's how they train themselves. They're machines. Some of them are even very, very smart. So if you can get some soldiers, some athletes as employees, you're doing okay. If you're getting one of the current generation PlayStation or YouTubers as your employees, you should already get your bankruptcy lawyer prepared because you're going to declare bankruptcy very soon. So now, in the cash advance business, there's a common denominator. Many of the employees are people that spent their life in Torah. Yeshiva Bachurim, Avrichim. Why then? Why do they like him so much? They're so talented? No, it's the exact opposite. They have no other talent because they were learning Torah. They've been learning Torah, so they don't have usually the salesman's skills and the language. They're not fast talkers. They're usually humble people, tzaddikim. And they're also naive. So they don't really know what's going on here. They look, they see a bunch of religious people in this company. Sure, I want a religious company. Oh, he even lets me study during the afternoon. He thinks it's a good place. He got a job at a good place. So now what happens? This guy comes in, he says, I want a job. Okay, listen, you have a family, you now have your newly married 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. Those 4 or 5 kids in New York, they cost a few $1,000s each every month. That rent costs a few $1,000s every month. You can't live with your mommy and daddy forever. You have to have your own house. Your wife doesn't want to live with her in-laws forever. You have to have your own house. You have to have your own diapers. You have to have your own carriage. You have to have your own stuff. You got to make $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 every month. How are you going to make that in Kolel? Maybe in 20 years from now, you combine all the incomes. You'll have that. How are you going to do it? Oh, we have a way. How? Come work for the cash advance business. Within a month or two, you're already making deals, $10,000, $20,000 a month. Your average bachu hears this, $10,000, $20,000 a month. He doesn't know it's stealing. He doesn't know anything's wrong with it. Sure, why not? I'm helping the goyim borrow money. They want to borrow money. I'm helping them. Some rabbi told me that I'm allowed to do it because it's goyim. Doesn't think much of it. By the time he realizes that what he's doing is bad, because he sees that the customers are defaulting on the loans, and they're calling him crying, they just took my house, they just took my car, they just took my stuff, they're ruining my life, I can't believe you did this to me. And he wants to cry himself, because he didn't mean to do a bad thing. He thought he was helping Jose from St. Louis. He thought he was helping Jamal from Minnesota. He thought he was helping all of those people. Now they're calling and say, yo, I'm going to kill you. What'd you do to me? You lent me that money. I can't get out of it. He's crying with them. No, I didn't mean to. I thought I was helping you. But it's already 8 months into it. He already got himself used to this lifestyle of 10, 20, 30,000 a month. Ruach, HaTumah lives in his house. Good luck getting him out of that business. Now, Rabotai, if you do not take this to heart, then now you're going to take it to heart. The Yetzer Hara realizes in America, he's doing great. Business is good. Every Jewish community has one of these Amaleks in there. Recruiting people, building more buildings to get more people to do this business. Hashem Yishmor v'Yatzil. It's not enough. Yetzer Hara wants more. Mashiach is about to come. What did he do? He sent messengers to Israel. Literally within a week after I landed in Israel, several people already sent me messages. Rabbi, listen, I met somebody in shul and he's telling me to work for this American company, but it sounds like something you talked about. Something I talked about. I look at it, plus the website, literally a half a second later, I'm texting them back, no, don't go there, it's cash advance, this is exactly it. Run away! And another person. This is the new thing. They're literally like missionaries. They're going to shuls. Now you go tell your average avrech that's making $500 a month. He learns 7, 8, 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day. If he's not late, he gets $500 a month. And somehow by some miracle he's surviving with 6, 8, 10 kids. Yishtabach Shemo Lahad. Now you go tell that avrech, listen, what if we paid you $10,000 a month? He has to be Moshe Rabbeinu not to pass that test. And guess what? They don't even have to pay him $10,000 a month. Why? They give him $3,000 a month, he's already happy. They give him $3,000 a month, he's already, it's like a half a year's salary. I could do this on the side while going to the kollel. Why? Because the hour difference. I could work, make $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $15,000 a month as an avrech and still learn 7, 10 hours a day. Who's going to pass this test? Who's going to pass this test when he doesn't know that Jamal is losing his house? When he doesn't know that Jose is losing his car? When he doesn't know that Patricia just committed suicide because she can't pay the bill? The interest that you charged her, she can't pay it. He doesn't know any of this stuff. By the time he knows, 8, 10, 15 months later, Ruach, HaTumah lives in his house. Good luck getting him out of that business. You see, Rabotai Yekarim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in such a fashion that everything has to do with the Jews. Everything has to do with the Jews. The biggest disasters that ever happened in history, the Jews were involved. Holocaust, they were murdering us like we were flies. But it wasn't the only time. The Beit HaMikdash, the first one, the second one, the Spanish Inquisition, the damage goes on. Why does the HaKadosh Baruch Hu keep giving us this horrible message? The Stipler Gaon told us, it's midah keneged midah. We did it to ourselves. This doesn't justify the evil that the Reshaim, the Goyim are doing to us. Chas v'shalom, it never will justify it. They're all going to go to Gehinnom for causing us any damage. But the question is, why don't we learn? And instead of saying, listen, I'm not involved in this business, I don't even know anybody in this business, why don't we start thinking differently? Because that's probably what everybody else said before us. In the previous generations, when Rav Landau said that anyone that's in this type of business is causing anti-Semitism, when Abarbanel says that it's not allowed, when all of these Chachamim says that, we got literally murdered in the middle of the street because of this business, everybody else said the same thing. Listen, I'm not in the business. I'm not in the business. I don't even know anybody who's in the business. It's not relevant to me. Why don't we now do something different? Start sharing the information and tell people, listen, I don't know if you're in the business, but somebody we know that's in the community must be in it. Why? Because the business is prospering. And someone is getting paid. And it's important for us to know that this is causing us damage. Everyone has to understand that this is something that's causing a lot of damage to the Jewish community today. And if it was for anything, it's important for us to know that if we're not honest in our business dealings, we have a masoret that comes from the verse that we're obligated to read every year about Amalek. If you look at that verse, the verse before it is talking about business. Rashi says, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu connect the verse that talks about equal weights in business right next to the verse to remember what Amalek did to you? Of course we know HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't put a verse in the Torah for no reason. Do you know why? Rashi says, because when the Jewish people are unfaithful in their business, when the Jewish people are dishonest in their business, it strengthens Amalek. All of the shefa, all of the good that we are supposed to get, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes it from us, Hashem Yishmael, and gives it to Amalek. Meaning that whether you're in the business or you're not in the business, you're being affected by the business. Now of course this is not the only business that's out there that's corrupt. There's all types of businesses that are corrupt. This is just the one that we have the most history with. The corruption in law, the corruption in medicine, the corruption in computers, the corruption in all types of businesses. There's Goyim, there's Jews, there's a lot of different people. But here we have a situation where we have a masoret. We must have a masoret of a disaster happening from this business. It doesn't get more critical than this. And I've been crying about this for several years already. Baruch Hashem, we've succeeded in helping several people get out of the business, but unfortunately the business continues to grow. So I think that if anyone's going to do anything during this month, aside from working on our own personal midot, aside from serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu better when we pray, to stop talking in shul, aside from being more generous with tzedakah, being makpid when it comes to giving maaser, especially to places of Torah, aside from doing all of those things that are obvious, it's time for us to also look at our own backyard. How am I doing business? Am I honest in business, or am I giving strength to Amalek? How is my neighbor, my friend, my brother, my cousin, my wife, my son, the people that are within my circle, my keilah, are they involved in any of these things? Maybe I can help them, get them out of this situation, get them a different job, give them some musar. What can I do to help the people? Why? Because the reality is that if we don't help each other get out of this disaster that we're in, we're all going to fall. We're all going to get hurt. There's no like, oh, Hashem picks, only the wicked people get hurt. Tzaddikim also died during the Holocaust. Tzaddikim also died during the Spanish Inquisition. Tzaddikim also died during the pogroms in the 1100s in England. Tzaddikim died throughout all the generations. Why? It was a decree. So that's the thing. It's important for us to at least do the maximum. What can I do? What can I contribute? If you see one of these people in the Kehillah, you have to make sure, you have to let them know, listen, you know what? Maybe you don't even realize what you're doing, but you're causing damage to the Jewish people. Show them the Shiur. Show them the other Shiurim. Because the history of corruption for our people is always answered by HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Other nations, the Chinese have been stealing from the Americans and every country in the world for years. HaKodesh Baruch Hu doesn't care about them. The Americans stole from everybody. Hashem doesn't care about it. The Iranians steal day and night. Hashem doesn't care. Hashem doesn't care. All of these countries steal from each other, steal from their own people. Hashem doesn't care. Yeah, once in a while you see one of the countries go to zero, like Venezuela and some of these other South American countries that are full of idolatry and all types of promiscuity and filth. But in reality, the corruption is like the least of their crimes. But the Jewish people, it's only a matter of time before HaKadosh Baruch Hu closes our accounts. Every single time we were involved in some type of corruption, some type of monetary dishonesty, it was only a matter of time before HaKadosh Baruch Hu exposed it. So it's important for us to know that if we remain careless or selfish, we're going to end up being hurt the most. And I think that now is an important time for everybody to do tshuva, not just for themselves, not just for the obvious things that you're probably going to hear 500 shiurim about, whether it's going to be from me or from other speakers and so on, to help, to fix your midot, to become more generous, to do all types of things. Stop donating to bad people. Stop thinking that the rabbi is your best friend. If the rabbi says that you're really part of my family, that's already a warning, because usually that means he just likes your wallet as much as he likes your face. Stop with those craziness. We have to be honest with ourselves. There are certain things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands us to do. That's what we're obligated to do. One of those things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands us to do is to love each other. Not just love each other by inviting each other for Shabbos. Not just love each other by giving each other challah. Not just love each other by doing all of the obvious things that people do for each other. You gave him a ride, you helped him here, you helped him there. No, not just that. Helping each other even if you don't know each other. Helping each other even if you don't live next to each other. Helping each other even if the only thing that you have in common is that you're part of the same people. And you're never going to meet. How do you help each other? By literally exposing the things that are evil within us, to at the very least show the Ruach HaTumah that it has an enemy. It can't just sit here free and just comfortable, and it's laying on a couch because no one's even dealing with it. And that's the thing that's happening. You have the corruption is unanswered to such magnitude that the Ruach HaTumah is sitting in the living room, sometimes doesn't even go to work because the guy's doing it on his own. He's watching TV. The guy is so used to the stuff that the wicked people that he's involved with, he doesn't even think they're bad anymore. You'll see sometimes pictures of some of these people within this industry. Literally, you're not even sure who's the gangster, the guy with the beard or the guy without the beard. The last thing I'm going to say about this is this. It's such a bad business. The mafia, you guys have heard the mafia. It's not a fairy tale, it's real. The mafia has stopped being mafia and has joined this business. Number one thing for the mafia was lending money, loan sharks. You go to the mafia, you bet with them, you gamble with them, you don't have the money, okay, they're going to charge you points. 5 points, 10 points, 50 points, 80 points, pay on time, they break your legs, all those good things. The mafia is no longer the mafia because the cash advance business is much better and more profitable and legal. If you're in the same industry as the mafia, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. And the rabbi that gave you that eter iska, he probably is like a mob boss. You can call him father or uncle or I don't know, Capone or something, one of these names. And that's the thing, Rabotai. It's funny, but it's not funny. I think that this is something that is dangerous, more in Israel than America. Because here, I think it's going to be much easier to get people to fall for the trap. Because the money is so much more valuable here. Like you tell a guy, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, it's a big deal. Especially when he doesn't know what's really happening behind the scenes. So it's important for you guys not to let the community stay unaware. Because they did that in America, now it's an entire industry. It's literally a $10, $15 billion industry, if not more. We're talking about this is challenging some of the biggest industries in the world. In America, it's, I don't like to say it, but it's almost like a lost cause. But here, you still have hope. And anyone that has connections, anyone that knows people, anyone that knows any of these things should definitely use it to publicize this damage, because it's a very, very dangerous business. Throughout our history, we know for sure. And I'm telling you, I've been here only for a few weeks. I got several messages by people that tell me that this business has come to their neighborhood. One in Yerushalayim, another one somewhere else. All people, and unrelated, different companies. So I think it's from Shamayim that HaKodesh Baruch Hu made these text messages happen while I was here, and not while I was in America. So Be'ezrat Hashem, this too will help us get closer to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, to clean up our backyards, to get ourselves away from the corruption that has caused all of us so much damage, to really protect our kids, to protect ourselves from all of this stuff. I think it's important for us to start being a little bit more, more courageous, to stand against things that are simply wrong. When you know it's wrong, you have to stand up for it. If you're not going to stand up for it, what are you going to stand up for? And I think that also, don't assume that the rabbis know what they're talking about when it comes to this specific things, because a lot of times, rabbi will say, basic things. So that's why anyone that has a rabbi that's challenging him, just ask me for Teshuva. We're going to put it on the website anyway. Ask me for the Teshuva, I can send him the Teshuva. Anyone that, and this is a public offer to any rabbi, any Talmid Chacham in the world. Anyone that can disprove this Teshuva, I'll give him $10,000 cash. $10,000 if you can disprove this Teshuva. Why? It's not possible. You'll have to disprove the entire Gemara, every Rishon. You'll have to disprove the entire Torah in order to permit this business. In order to permit this business, you have to disprove the entire Torah. It's simply not possible. So Be'ezrat Hashem, this is going to, it's okay, it's fine, don't worry. And this is going to help people realize that there is no way to kasher a pig. It's impossible. It never will be possible. The high interest lending businesses are the pig of all pigs. It's important for us to know that it's coming to everyone's backyard. And Be'ezrat Hashem, each one of us has the tools to defend ourselves from it, to defend ourselves from the Yetzer Hara that's going to tell you, go do it, go work in it, or don't say anything, stay quiet. All of those things, it's important for us to know that this is something that has caused our nation, a lot of damage. And Be'ezrat Hashem, this is something that when you see that this is coming to your neighborhood, you already have enough ammunition to know that, okay, I have to not only protect myself from it, but I also have to make sure that nobody else falls. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we succeed. Any questions? Okay.
Someone in the family has this Ruach.
Okay. It's a good question. If somebody has this HaTumah that's in your family or in your circle, what do? The most important thing that a Jew can do for another Jew, whether they're family members, friends, or just simply another Jew, is the chesed of getting them closer to HaKodesh Baruch Hu. And some people call it Kiruv, some people call it Zikuy Arabim. Ultimately, the Chachamim call it chesed. The Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin has the students of Rabbi Yaron Reuven ask him a question. They say, what is going to save us at the time of Mashiach? And Rabbi Yaron Reuven says to them that Torah and Gmilut Chasadim is going to save a person from the sufferings of the times before Mashiach. Now what's Gmilut Chasadim? Gmilut Chasadim literally means the ultimate kindness, the highest level of kindness. And what's the highest level of kindness? Highest level of kindness is to get a person to do tshuva, to get closer to HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Now, in this generation, from my experience of doing this for years now, and helping Baruch Hashem thousands and thousands of people get closer to Hashem, from my experience, I think that it's the most effective way, it may not be the only way, but the most effective way to help people get rid of the Ruach HaTumah the fastest, or the klipa, or just simply their addiction to evil or bad or whatever sin. The fastest way to do it is to give them strong musar, by simply making them aware of the cost of the sin. What's the ramification of the sin? Strong musar. The lovey-dovey way, where you speak to them and say, listen, it's not good for you, you shouldn't do it, maybe you could try to do something else, God loves you. That may work for some people, but the vast majority of people in our generation today, it simply doesn't work for them. Because they already have that Ruach HaTumah on them so strong that it just doesn't do anything. It's like, okay, maybe if you blow some air towards a mosquito, it may fly away, but if you do that on an eagle, it's just going to bite you. It's not going to do anything. So it's the same concept here. So people have connected themselves either to evil itself, the sins themselves of promiscuity, all types of immorality, or bad people that are in businesses like this, and corruption and so on, that Ruach HaTumah has already been on them to the point where they feel like it's part of them. They're used to it. They've made themselves at home. So to just go soft with them and tell them to just come to just any type of lecture and any type of speech that is just going to appease them and make them feel like, good inside, it just won't work. They need to know that there are ramifications for their actions that are very severe, both in this world and the next. And I think that the USBs that you have outside, they're all for free. There's one for Tikkun HaBRIT, there's one for Erev Mashiach, there's all types of USBs. Each one of these USBs has a series of videos as well as audios that are strong lectures, similar and different to the one that you heard tonight, that are simply full of sources, honesty that's brutal but is effective. It helped countless people get closer to Hashem, because for the first time in their life they heard that there are serious ramifications for their bad actions, whatever those bad actions are. So I think that if you have somebody in your family or friend, whoever, that you care about, the best thing you could do for them is to share those videos with them without really even saying much. Just say, listen, this is interesting. Why is it interesting? Check it out yourself. Check it out yourself. This is interesting. You don't have to sell it. You just tell them this is interesting. The packaging in itself is interesting. The fact that it's a USB, it's interesting. The fact that it's free is also interesting. All these things are interesting. Let them be interested. Let them press the button, and let the HaKodesh Baruch Hu do the rest of the job. And you'll see that many times people, you won't have to talk much to them. You'll have to just simply lead them in that direction, and they can already decide for themselves. Sometimes it's very hard for a person to change, but the one thing that does happen usually when a person sits down and listens to a lecture that we do, is that even if they don't change right away to do good, they're no longer going to enjoy the sins. They stop enjoying the sins. Just yesterday, I did a Shiur at a Beit Knesset, and they asked me to speak. I don't go anywhere, I'm not invited. They asked me to speak, and I spoke. And after I finished speaking, Rabbi Fine was there with me, and he said, all these wonderful things, and I honestly don't understand what was the big deal of what I said. So it was amazing, it was great, it was this, it was that. I thought he was just giving me compliments because he loves me and I love him. And he said, no, you don't understand. No one in the history of that Beit Knesset ever did what you did. I said, why? What did I say that's such a big deal? He said, first of all, it was much longer than anyone else ever talked. There, 5 minutes maximum. You spoke for a lot longer, and not only did people stay, even the kids stayed. Little kids, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids stayed listening to every word. 2, the stuff that you said, no one dares say because it's strong stuff. 3, I know for sure was effective. Why? Because during the shiur, during the speech, at least 4 people came up to him complaining, oh, it's too hard, it's too this, it's too that. He said, I said, oh, why is that good? He says, because that means it affected them. They're not complaining if it doesn't affect them. They're complaining because it does affect them. So at least from now on, they're not going to enjoy doing whatever evil that they know that they're doing. They may continue talking in shul. They may continue doing whatever it is that they were doing that you said that they were doing. But from now on, they're going to see your face every time they do it. You know, it's like Yosef HaTzadik, the Gemara in Masechet Sotah says that Yosef HaTzadik, when he had Eshet Potiphar, tried to get him to sin with her. And Yosef HaTzadik almost sinned with her. She was a beautiful woman, he's a beautiful man, he's young. What do you want? House is empty. And literally, almost last second before he's with her, the Gemara says, the image of Yaakov Avinu appears to Yosef HaTzadik. And Yaakov Avinu says to Yosef, if you do this, you should know, one day there's going to be a Bet HaMikdash. And there's going to be a Kohen Gadol. And the Kohen Gadol is going to have the Choshen. And every one of the tribes, every one of your brothers is going to have a special stone for his tribe. If you do this, you're not on the Choshen. You're not a tribe. You're not part of us anymore. At that moment, Yosef HaTzadik took his fingers and smashed them on the ground. Literally like breaking his hands in order to rid himself from the desire, the lust that he had at that moment. And he got away from this sin. Some Chachamim even say that it was so, the lust was so high that it became to the point of mystical lust. There was already something that was like above and beyond the norm, that the seed came out of his fingernails. That's, which is physically impossible. The point being is that sometimes the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, is so strong within a person that you can't just deal with them in a normal way. You can't deal with them in a normal way. But if you do tell them what needs to be said, you broke a klipa. From now on, it's not going to be the same for them. It's not going to be the same. So that's what happened with those people in the shul. They're never going to talk in shul and not think of what I said apparently. So that at least is going to make that sin less enjoyable. If it's less enjoyable, maybe it's more likely to stop. It may not stop tomorrow, but it's more likely to stop. And that's sometimes what you have to do with certain people, with your family, with your friends and so on. That sometimes they're used to certain things because no one ever said, don't do it. So the second you give them a USB or anything else, and they hear the truth, and you also have to pray for them and do whatever you can, that's a mitzvah in their name, then Be'ezrat Hashem, this too will help them get closer to Hashem. Anything other questions? Yes. Okay.
Most of them, they're like, they don't know what goes in the world. So when you come to the suicide, so when you begin, so you came from India, and
most of us, we are like, we don't know anything, we come to it, and we see that everyone's religious, like, in their own way. So how do you see which is the truth? How can we be able to like separate the bad and the good and the Ruach and the Ruach?
That's a good question. So the thing is though, is that even if, your Keilah, your community, the Bnei Menashe, they remind me of the Ethiopians or the Yemenites that came to Eretz Yisrael, very naive, very pure, very inspired to be part of Eretz Yisrael, but unfortunately also they were taken advantage of in a certain way, and many of them fell off and got till this day there are still stories that are being told about what happened from those great communities. So the truth is that this is not a new thing, not just with Bnei Menashe or the Yemenites or with or the Ethiopians or anybody in Klal Yisrael. The question is, how do we all know the truth? How do we all know the truth? Because HaKodesh Baruch Hu gave the same 5 books of Moses to all of Am Yisrael. Some of us were darker, some of us were lighter, some of us had our eyes like this, some of us had eyes like this, some of us had like this, some of us had eyes with, everybody has eyes on somebody else's wallet, somebody has somebody else's wife. Everybody has all types of eyes. Baruch Hashem, all, Bnei Shechad Nachnu, all the sons of one man. The key is, how do we all know the truth? How do we all know the truth? The only way that we can all know the truth is what's in the Torah. A person that learns Torah will find out the truth. A person that not just learns the weekly parasha and just does the basic minimum. A person that glues themselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, prays to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he could see the truth, that he could understand the truth, that when he sees it, he can identify it. When he sees a lie, he can identify the lie. Because all of us have the same set of eyes, but some people can see one thing as a true, and another person would see the same thing as a lie. So you have to pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he allows you to see the truth. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hears all of the prayers, but he only answers some of them. Why does he only answer some of them? The Gemara in Masechet Brachot, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives wisdom to the wise. Now, Chachamim say, wait a minute, why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu give wisdom to the wise? Shouldn't he give wisdom to the fools? And that way everybody will be wise? Somebody's stupid, give him some wisdom, he'll be smart, right? Why should you give wisdom to somebody that's already smart? Chachamim says, no. The wisdom, if you give it to somebody that's stupid, you're wasting it. Why? If he's stupid, it's because he chose to be stupid. He chose to be stupid. Why? Because he doesn't study, he doesn't try, he wants everything to be gifted to him on a silver platter. So you gave him wisdom, you won't even know what to do with it. The guy that's wise, it's not that he was just born with wisdom. No, he acquired wisdom. He toiled for wisdom. He lost sleep because of wisdom. He invested money because of wisdom. He did everything he can to acquire wisdom because he likes wisdom. And since he likes wisdom, I feel safe giving him the wisdom because he'll know what to do with it. He'll know what to do with it. So that's the thing. It's anybody can become a chacham if they like wisdom. Yeshua ben Nun at one point was called Ksin. Ksin means a fool. It's called a fool because he wasn't the smartest one among the people. Until HaKadosh Baruch Hu made him the leader after Moshe Rabbeinu, where it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made some of the kochot, some of the powers of Moshe go upon Yeshua ben Nun, including his wisdom. Why? Because he needed it now. But what happened to this? Because why did he give it to him? Because despite the fact that his natural abilities were not very high, he didn't have a very high IQ, he didn't have a very high ability, he loved wisdom. He waited at Mount Sinai to be first, to hear what Moshe Rabbeinu heard at Mount Sinai. Why? I want to hear the Chidush. Yeah, but who don't know you're even going to understand it? Forget about understand or don't understand. I want to hear it first. Yeah, but 5 minutes later, everybody else is going to hear the Chidush from Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah, but that's 5 minutes. I could already know it. He loved wisdom. And that's why he waited for Moshe Rabbeinu. He was constantly next to Moshe Rabbeinu. Constantly following Moshe Rabbeinu so he could hear more of his Torah. He loved wisdom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you like wisdom? I'm going to give you wisdom. So that's the thing. If your Keilah or any other Keilah or any other Jew in the world or any other person in the world wants to be a Chacham, they have to invest time in learning Torah. Now, Chacham is not just a person that knows how to do math or knows answers of what's in the parasha. A Chacham is somebody that can decipher the difference between truth and false without necessarily having to ask 15 different people and then determining who's telling you the truth or not. It's a person that has a HaKodesh Baruch Hu unfolds their eyes and they can see the truth for what it is. Because they know what's in the Torah. Now I can tell you that Baruch Hashem, I spend a lot of time with different Chachamim, I learn with them and so on. But the lifestyle of your average scholar in the secular world is that they spend a certain amount of hours at their leisure studying for whatever it is that they like. And then they live the rest of their life. A Talmid Chacham, a real Talmid Chacham, their Torah, their scholarship, if you will, is their life. That means that by the time you come back, you go to shul, let's say in the morning, you go to pray at 8 o'clock. Okay? By the time you finish praying, it's, let's say 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9:30. You go home, you get to the house, you want to eat something quickly, maybe have a coffee or something, because you're not allowed to eat before you pray, before you put on tefillin, not allowed to eat. So you have to pray early. So for all of those guys that wake up at 12 o'clock and then have a meal, you're making multiple sins. So you're not allowed to eat until you pray. So now, you went to pray, you prayed at 8 o'clock in the morning, you came back at 9, 9:30, you ate your meal, 10 o'clock. Oh, okay, so maybe before I go to work or on the way to work, I'll learn something. You know what Talmid Chacham does? By the time he got home at 10 o'clock in the morning, he went to the same schedule. He went to the same prayer at 8 o'clock in the morning. Same looking. He didn't. Not every Talmid Chacham goes to pray at 6 o'clock in the morning or some other really early hour in the morning. No, some of them go at 8 o'clock in the morning. But you know what the difference is? By 10 o'clock, he already learned at least an hour of Torah. At least an hour, if not more. You know how? On the way to shul, you were walking, he was walking with a book and reading. While you were putting on tefillin, you put on tefillin and thinking about, I have to put on tefillin, and yeah, you know what, I have to get groceries today too, and oh yeah, my wife. Okay, whatever. And you're thinking of all this junk in your head with the stuff that's going on in the world. You know what he's thinking about? Nothing. Shulchan Aruch is right in front of him. He's reading it while he's putting on tefillin. And you know, while the prayer is going, he trained himself to read extra fast so he could finish it, so he could also learn while he's praying. By the time the prayer, the hour and a half prayer is finished, he already studied for 40 minutes. But does that come to him naturally? No, it doesn't come to anybody naturally. It's not a natural thing. It's a commitment. It's a commitment to wisdom. It's a commitment to the Torah because he loves wisdom. He loves the Torah. So when you love something, you want as much of it as you possibly can get. You wake up, that's what you look at. Instead of checking your phone, you check the Torah. You instead of thinking about all the stuff that the world is going on in the world, you check what's going on in the world of Torah. What's in the Chumash today? What's in the Shulchan Aruch today? What's in the Gemara today? And you're constantly chasing the Torah. Where can I get more? Okay, you're eating, he's eating, but you're eating, just eating, and maybe checking your phone, and maybe this, maybe that. He's eating with a book. One person is eating because he likes to taste all types of food. Another person is eating at Chacham because he wants to make the blessings. He wants to make the blessing. You ask the person, what do you like to eat? He looks at you, what do you mean what I like to eat? What does that mean? No, what's your favorite food? Now if I ask the average person, what's your favorite food? Every person will raise their hand, my favorite food is ice cream. My favorite food is macaroni. My favorite food is steak. My favorite food, everybody has a favorite food. You ask a Talmid Chacham, what's your favorite food? He doesn't know what you're talking about. What do you mean a favorite food? Who has time to think about food? Even in the bathroom I don't think about food. Why? I think about Chumash, I think about Torah, I think about HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Who has time to think about food? He doesn't have a favorite food. He has blessings. That's what he has. So the mentality is different. Now yes, not that many people in the world are like this, but everyone can be like this. How? You have to like wisdom. You have to do whatever you can to just like a person that likes money, he does whatever he can to acquire money. He invests it, he researches it, he works for it, he does all types of things. Somebody wants to know the truth, he has to invest for it, he has to do whatever he can to get it. So whether it's your keilah or anybody else in the world that wants to know the truth, you have to invest everything in it. It's the only way, because the world is full of lies. Sometimes those lies have a very nice long and white beard. Sometimes those lies have a church. Sometimes those lies come as a big pharmaceutical company or a drink company. All types of lies in the world. In order for you to decipher where's the truth and where's the lie, you can only see it from the lenses of the Torah. Once you see the things from the lenses of the Torah, the truth and lies are very clear. The world becomes very clear. Because it's you have it, it's in front of you, it's a blueprint, and HaKodesh Baruch Hu allows you to see things because your Torah is too valuable for him to allow you to waste your time with certain things. Yes?
If a person is building long-term plans, especially in America, people are buying stocks, long-term investments, and all this, buying real estate or somebody has big ambitions and he wants to put a big business, become an excellent months and stuff. Does it show that he doesn't believe in the arrival of Mashiach? Because if Mashiach is coming tomorrow, then we will not build things, right? So if a person is building long-term plans and long-term investment, buying stocks and all this, does it show that he doesn't really believe in the arrival of Mashiach? And it's wrong in this way, in such a case, to build any long-term plans and to invest a lot of your time into some long-term project, because if you really truly believe that Mashiach is coming tomorrow, that he will not build things. So what's the right approach that would be culture right in that?
As far as people that invest and build for the future, the question is why they're doing it. There are certain people that have to plan for the future, either because they have a lot of assets or a lot of responsibilities and different people depending on them. And there are people that really shouldn't do it and should invest more time in there today. It all depends on the person and what HaKadosh Baruch Hu gifted the person with. But I can tell you this, the Gemara in Masechet Brachot has Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkanus talk about people that have lack of emunah, where they worry constantly about tomorrow, having food tomorrow, even though they already have food today. And a lot of people like that today. They're very worried about tomorrow. And that's why they plan. They want to have a certain bank account and a certain insurance policy and a certain whatever, all types of different things to plan for tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, and they never really get to enjoy today. So he says people that are worried about tomorrow when they have something today, it's people that have small emunah, because if Hashem gave you money today, I'll give you money tomorrow. Why are you so worried? So if what you're planning is due to worries, then it's the wrong type of planning. On the other hand, people that are planning, that they say, no, I just want to have things ready for, because I want to have retirement and I want to live comfortably. It's I want to have my house and I want to go, do all types of other things. It's also wrong. Why? Because delusional thinking. The king of the demons, Ashmedai was his name, and he got caught by Shlomo Melech. Shlomo Melech wanted to get a certain type of worm in order to cut the stones in the Bet HaMikdash. It's a shamir worm, and only this Ashmedai knew where this worm is. So Shlomo Melech sent Benayahu to go catch him. Benayahu was very, very smart, and he caught him in a very clever way. He knew where he drinks his water in a certain well, and he replaced the well with wine. And long story short, as he caught this king of the demons. Now how do you catch such a powerful person, such a powerful being? He put him in chains, and then he put the real name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on him. And he said, as soon as he put it on him, he says, the name of your master is on you, you're not allowed to move. And he had to listen to it. So now he takes him in chains all the way back to Shlomo Melech. But on the way, Benayahu sees that this king of the demons laughs. He's laughing. Now he got instructions from Shlomo, don't talk to him. Why? He's dangerous, don't talk to him. So when he got back to the kingdom, Benayahu told him, listen, I don't know, you told me not to talk to him, so I didn't talk to him. But I don't know, he was laughing. Like when we passed by this place, he started laughing like a crazy, I don't know why he was laughing so much. Shlomo Melech says, okay, let me find out. Shlomo Melech goes to this king of the demons. He goes, okay, look, why were you laughing? He says, it's funny things. I see funny things. Wait, what's so funny? He says, no, because we passed by the store, and I was able to hear what's going on in the store. The guy in the store went into the store. He had some money with him. He saved some money. He says, listen, I want you to make me shoes. They're going to last me for years. I want the shoes. I'm going to pay all this extra money for the shoes. Lots of money for the shoes. I want the shoe to last me, 7 or 10 years, like a long, long time. Guaranteed, because you're going to put all this extra material in them and so on and so forth. Make it the best shoe in the world. So Shlomo Melech says to him, why is that funny? He says, because the guy doesn't realize he doesn't even have a week to live. He's spending all this money to have a shoe that's going to last him for 70 years. In Shemaim, they already decreed he's going to die at the end of the week. Shemaim decreed. So that's the thing. If a person is planning because he wants to have a nice retirement and he wants to have a nice vacation house and he forgot the purpose of this world, it's wasting his time. It's wasting his time. He doesn't realize that who guaranteed him tomorrow. Part of the reason why I make sure that every one of my lectures has at least one bomb in it. One thing that's very hard for people to accept, but it's 100% true and important. One of the reasons is because I don't know if I'm ever going to see you again. I don't know if I'm ever going to see you again. I don't know if I'm going to be alive. I don't know if you're going to be alive. I don't know anything. All I know is that right now we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity. HaKodesh Baruch Hu made our path come to the same place. Whether you're on the internet or you're in front of me, whatever it is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me one chance with you. Now it could be that it could be like Betzalel that I know him for 10 years already, and B'ezrat Hashem we learn for another 20 years. But it could be that it could be one more time, who knows? So I know that I have one chance with every single person. So that one chance, I want to make sure that that person has at least something to take home. Something to take home that could impact their life in a positive way. That they're not going to go up to Shamayim and say, no, did you go to Yaron Reuven's Shiur? Yeah, what'd you learn there? Nothing, he was just talking about baseball, he made me laugh, jokes. Oh, okay, you know what, bring Yaron over here. Let us talk to him, what kind of lectures he's giving. I don't want that. I want you guys to go up to Shamayim and say, you know what? Changed my life, I learned about cash advance, I wasn't even in the business, but I hated it more than anything else. You know, like it's Baruch Hashem, you took something and impacted you. Okay, so that's the thing. You have to look at things that way. You have to look at things that you have limited amount of opportunities with certain things. So if a person is looking at life in such a fashion where you have today you have to learn as much as possible. You have to do as many mitzvot as possible. You have to do as much good as possible today. Don't worry so much about what's going to happen in 20 years from now, because you don't even know if you're going to be here in 20 years from now. So that's for the average person. There are some people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu simply blessed them with an extraordinary amount of wealth or responsibility or both. Either they're connected to a lot of people or they're responsible for a lot of people, or they simply have an extraordinary amount of wealth where they have to plan. Not because they're afraid of the future or anything like that, but because it would be irresponsible for them to leave whatever they've built, whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed them with, in nobody's hands. One of the mistakes that certain people have made in their life is not actually making a plan, a continuation plan of what would happen after they leave. In Chabad, for example, the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the 6 Rebbes that lived before him, they're all great Rebbes, they're all great Chachamim, they all knew a lot of good things, but the Rebbe didn't leave anybody that after him. For whatever reason he decided, or somebody decided that he's going to be the last one, we see the significant change in Chabad since for the first time in history they don't have a leader. The first 7 Rebbes, you saw Chabad continued to grow, do good things, do a lot of amazing things. Now yes, they still do some good things today, but you also see that there's a lot of stuff that's completely unorthodox. That if the Rebbe was still alive or somebody would replace him, they certainly wouldn't stand for it. So the continuation plan is a necessary thing for certain people. It's a responsible thing for certain people to do. So for such people, you need to do it. Now we're not questioning anybody and why and who and what they did, but we're just seeing facts for what they are. And it's important for each one of us to know that for your average person, the last part is simply not relevant. The last part is simply not relevant. The most they can do is maybe get themselves a life insurance policy so their family can have enough money to bury them and, live without their income for a certain amount of time. They can do that. The estate planning and the portfolio and all of that trust and all that stuff is simply a waste of money, waste of time, and simply doesn't affect anyone. I dealt with the money business. I was in the money business for almost 20 years. Most people, what they plan, the trust, and all of those retirement plans, all that stuff, nobody uses it. The kids simply take the money out and they do whatever they want with it. Nobody follows the trust, nobody follows anything. Unless there's a huge amount of fortune that they simply can't get access to unless they follow a certain amount of plan. And that's usually not possible unless you have a lot of money. So most people, they're in the first 2 categories. Some people are in the third one. But either way, a person needs to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that runs the world. Regardless of whether you have money or you don't have money, you have a responsibility in this world to do the best that you possibly can with whatever tools that Hashem gave you. And it's not just if the Mashiach comes tomorrow, because death can happen before the Mashiach. And I know that a lot of people like to think, I'm gonna, maybe the Mashiach is gonna come tomorrow, I'm gonna live to see the Mashiach, and that's all great, but it's more likely that, most people will die well before the Mashiach comes. Or simply die when the Mashiach comes. So that's a more realistic point of view. And death in this world is not death. It's just simply you're changing clothes and you're going to a permanent world. And that world has the consequences of whatever actions you've made during this life. Person works for a company. At the end of the week or the month, he gets a certain paycheck. The paycheck is dependent on the amount of work. Same thing with this life. person works in this life, X amount of years that Hashem gives him, and there's a certain payment that they get for that work. And that's really the way that a person should look at things, based on just their life, not necessarily depend everything on Mashiach, just simply because when we put too much on a Mashiach as far as having a date, it could work the opposite way, where subconsciously a person could have a date in their mind and say, oh, Mashiach is going to come on such and such date and such time, and by the time I'm 30 years old, and he's now 20. 30 years old seems like a long time for him, because 10 years. So it seems like, so 10 years from now, Mashiach is going to come for sure. It's during my lifetime, I'm 30, and to him it seems like a lot of time. Now I can assure you that by the time you're 30 years old, 10 years is not a lot of time anymore. By the time you're 40 years old, 10 years is like nothing. By the time you're 60, 70 years old, 10 years is like yesterday. So time changes, but when you're 20 years old, 10 years seems like a lot of time. So that's the thing, you can't put too much on Mashiach dates. There's a crazy guy that lives in Israel, he calls himself a rabbi, in reality he's a tractor driver. That's really what he did. No, he really is a tractor driver. Rabbi Tzapi did a whole shiur about him. He's a tractor driver, but he became a rabbi. And he poses as if he's the Mashiach, or he knows all these dates. He just came out with a video a few days ago saying that Mashiach is going to come within the next couple of months, on Rosh Hashanah. He's coming in Rosh Hashanah. So hold your breath, Mashiach is coming on Rosh Hashanah. This is not his only prophecy. He's had other prophecies that are all nonsense too. So that's the thing. It's when you put too much focus on any one thing, it could turn into fanaticism and it could turn into something bad. Mashiach is important, but we didn't come to this world just for the sake of Mashiach. He's one of the things that exists. We came to this world to serve HaKodesh Baruch Hu, with or without living in a time of Mashiach. And it's important that when you give some of this answer to the people that you're asking it for, you don't poise it for just telling them because if Mashiach can come tomorrow or not come tomorrow. You should poise it in a way where you say, listen, you don't know how long you're going to live. Because some people, they don't believe in Mashiach. Or they don't believe that Mashiach is going to come anytime soon. Why? Because they say, listen, he hasn't come in 2,000 years. Why should he come now? But if you tell them, listen, you could die any day, everybody believes in that. Why? Because everybody saw somebody die. The older you get, the more people you get to see that die. So I think that's more of a point that will hit home with more people than Mashiach aspect of it. Yes?
How do you stay inspired around
How do you stay inspired despite the people that are around you not being inspired? So it really goes back to the same thing as we said before. You have to learn Torah, and you have to make sure that you make time to learn Torah each day. But you have to learn in a certain fashion, meaning that your learning itself should be exciting. Sometimes you see there are certain people that they're accustomed to learning, and just like reading a book, reading, the guy's reading there, and nothing happens. Nothing happens, just reading a book, and if he was reading a book or he was reading a newspaper, nothing would really change. But then you see, like the Chachamim, they learn. Like for example, if anybody ever hear the recording that we have on our site of Rabbi Yashiv learning, it's mamash a sight to be seen. That he sings his Torah, and the way that he sings, it's mamash like Malach Hashem, like an angel came to earth, and he's singing his Torah for hours and hours and hours, for 100 years. He's singing his Torah, and he's not the only one. All Chachamim do something similar to that. Some sing it, some do this. Why? They're expressing their not just their excitement, their love, their passion for the Torah. So the more you express yourself in your learning, and not just make it learning in itself, that's going to motivate you. Because that in itself is going to give you that spiritual fulfillment, that happiness, that many people are looking for that to come from other people. Many times when people get discouraged because of the people that are around them, it's because they don't have enough in them themselves. Like, I can tell you this, don't take offense to it. It doesn't really make a difference if any of you like me. Like if all of you just stood up and you said, we don't like you, that wouldn't make any difference in my life whatsoever. Now, I would like for you to like me, but more important to me is that everything that I tell you is true. And then hopefully you take it into your life and it affects your life. Now, why doesn't it matter to me whether you like me or don't like me, or even if a billion of you like me or don't like me? Because Baruch Hashem, I have enough fire inside me from the Torah and the things that I do. I don't need any exterior help. So whatever the world offers, whether it's somebody cursing at me or somebody saying, I love you, changed my life, Baruch Hashem, to me, it's pretty much the same thing. Quite frankly, the liking me thing, when people say they like me a lot, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, I don't really understand why. But it's good. It's good. I like compliments. It's nice. Everybody needs the encouragement. I'm still human, but in general, you don't live off of it. Why? Because the fire from the Torah, Ishtabach Shem Olad, is so fulfilling. It's so satiating. It's so beautiful that the world can be whatever it is. The world can be whatever it is, and you're still going. So I think that one of the things you need to try to do as much as possible is not only make time to learn, but make your learning itself more exciting. Make your learning itself more exciting, whatever it is you're doing. Sometimes, for myself, for example, sometimes I have to stand up when I learn. Sometimes I have to sing. Sometimes I have to do all types of things just to keep myself going, because I see that anytime I do what I just sit there and I read, I'll fall asleep, or I'll just lose my train of thought, and somehow I'll arrive in China. I'll arrive in some other place. I'm reading Gemara, Masechet Sanhedrin, and somehow I'm in Kuwait. I have no idea how I got there. I'm somewhere else. I have no idea what's going on. And Abaye and Rava looking at me like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? And I say, I don't know, guys, but there's a lot of sand here, and we're in a desert. I'm confused. I don't know how I got there. I'm confused. Why? Because I didn't get into it. So sometimes you have to get into it. You have to do something a little bit more. And whatever, everybody has their own thing. Everybody has their own thing. Sometimes you have to learn with somebody. And don't just learn with anybody just because he's willing to learn with you. Usually you want to learn with somebody that also can bring some energy to the relationship. Not just somebody that's just going to read out loud along with you. You're reading, he's reading. You're reading, he's reading. You're reading, he's reading. Okay, great, thank you very much, but you're not doing anything. So you have to have somebody like that. B'ezrat Hashem, pray for it also. You have to pray for HaKodesh Baruch Hu to open up your mind. As far as the rest of that, the second part of the answer for the people that are around you, that are not motivated, that are not inspired, one thing I can tell you is that if your fire is hot enough, you light everybody else. You light everybody else. Why? Because either they run away from you or they join you. They can't stay the same. They can't stay the same. The person cannot stay the same if he's around you for long enough. He either becomes right the same thing like you, or he runs away. And so that's a good thing, because you know that whoever's next to you, that's who you want next to you, and whoever's not, that's also you don't want next to you, because they're going in different directions. Okay, Howard.
Firstly, thank you for arranging this show in English. It's been a real honor to see you live and hear you. The question I'd like to know is, can you explain why, as from it, there always seems to be challenges with children, paramasa, health, etc. And for the non-from, they go so easy, they can have what they want, buy what they want, and sometimes they look at the from and say, you really have to go to learn each other, you have to learn so much. You pushing yourself, you can get everything.
Right. So there's a couple explanations for it. First of all, thank you for flying all the way from England to here to join us, Baruch Hashem. I'll invite the rest of the people from Israel that actually live here would make as much effort to come to the Shiur, Baruch Hashem. It's also interesting in America, when we do our monthly Shiur over there are people from all over the country that fly in, from Colorado, from Texas, from several other states. And I say, I wish the people in Florida would try as hard as the people that are flying in. There's one family from Texas, they fly in every Shiur. Every Shiur, literally, every single Shiur. They're not a rich family. It's not like they have a private jet. Mamash, they have to, put everything together to come to every Shiur. They don't want to miss it. Baruch Hashem, it's Mesirut Nefesh. So how come the people that are local don't come? They say, Chachamim say, En Navi ba leiro. The prophet that HaKodesh Baruch Hu sends doesn't come to his own city. Doesn't come to you. So you're never going to see that the prophet comes to his own city. So that's the way it is, Baruch Hashem. So now, The difficulty that the Jews will have, it's not because they're frum. It's not because they're frum, because there are many people that are not frum that also have a difficult life. You know, I remember when I was, getting into the investment business, I was 18, 19 years old, and trying to do whatever I can to go up the ladder. And for the first 3 years, I was struggling a lot, so much so that I had only $1 that I had to borrow every day in order to survive. And I would have to do whatever I can to survive with a single dollar per day. You know, $1 to go on a bus, $1 to drink coffee, $1 to eat a donut, $1 to, survive. That's how I survived. Going to, driving an hour to work and back to work, and all of these things cost more than $1. But that's what I had. And that dollar was borrowed $1. So now, I wasn't frum, but I still had to struggle. And it was a very, very difficult struggle. But the point is that, you survive it, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, uses that for, build you up, build your character because of it. So it's not just the frum people that have difficulties, but it is true that sometimes it looks like the people that are not frum, and sometimes even the ones that are the least frum, meaning that they're anti, they hate the Torah, it seems like they have the most luxurious life. So the Mishnah in Masechet Avot says, don't get discouraged when you don't see that the wicked are not getting their punishment, where it seems like they're doing great. Don't lose hope because of it. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu has different timing than us. He has different timing than us. Many times HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that this person that has whatever he has all this luxury and so on, this person only has an X amount of time on his clock, how much time Hashem is giving him in this world. And that's the time that Hashem is giving him to do tshuva. If he does tshuva, he has to do it within that time frame. If he doesn't do tshuva, then he loses everything. So what ends up happening is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him a lot of extra luxury and money and so on during that time for the good things that he did do during his lifetime. Because if he doesn't do tshuva within that window of time frame, Hashem doesn't give him any olam. He doesn't give him anything good. He only goes to bad place. He goes to Gehenom. So what is he going to do with all the good stuff that he did? He has to pay for it. Hashem has to pay him for it. He's not going to just because he did it bad, he's not going to pay him for it. So he pays him in this world. And that's in the parasha Vayitchanan, Mishalem el tzonav el panav la'avido. HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays his haters in order to destroy them. Meaning he gives them extra luxury, extra money, extra good in this world as a form of destruction. Because if they don't do tshuva, their time is going to be up at a certain time frame, and because Hashem already decreed it that they're going to live a certain amount of time, and Hashem has to have a form of payment for them. If they die before he paid them in full, then he has to give them Gan Eden. But giving them Gan Eden would be suffering to the tzaddikim that are in Gan Eden. Why? Because this guy's a rasha. So he has to allow him to get his reward in this world. That's one. Second thing is that sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give a person multiple tests. Sometimes he'll give a person a test of suffering in order to build him. Where a person, let's say for example, is a righteous person, he's doing mitzvot, he's doing all the things that are good to do, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give him even a bigger reward. So if you do one mitzvah, and another person does a mitzvah, you do the mitzvah with suffering, it's difficult for you. He does the same mitzvah without suffering. Let's just say for example, going to shul. Waking up, going to shul, 8 o'clock in the morning, let's say to him it's very easy. He goes to sleep at whatever time, he's completely healthy, he likes to wake up, he's a morning person, he goes to shul, and it's great. Okay, so he gets a mitzvah. Another person, that when he wakes up, he starts screaming because he's in pain. His whole body is in pain. And to walk is very difficult for him. And to move is difficult for him. Why? Because it's painful. It's like he feels like he's either being electrocuted or he's just, all of his bones are broken and so on. But he still pushes his body to go to shul at that same 8 o'clock. Do you think Hashem pays them the same price? Absolutely not. His reward is a thousandfold. Why? Because he did the same mitzvah with difficulty. Lefuma ala agra, the Mishnah Navot says, the reward is based on the difficulty. The reward is based on the difficulty. So sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu likes a person. So, et Hashem yo'ab, Hashem yochiach. So Hashem gives difficulty to those people that He loves the most. Why? Because sometimes He wants them to get a bigger reward than they even know is possible. Everybody goes to shul, everybody prays, everybody learns, everybody does those mitzvot if they want to stay frum. But Hashem says, you know what? I want to give you even more. So I'm going to make you doing it, because I know you're going to do it anyway, I'm going to make it difficult for you. Because I know you can withstand the test. Why? Because I know that you're going to thank me for it when you get up to Shemayim. So now, what is it like? If a person, let's say for example, needs a job, and he's carrying sacks, really, really heavy sacks. And he's tired, and it's heavy, and it's hot outside. He doesn't want to do it, but he has to make parnasah. And all of a sudden, the guy calls him, says, listen, I could see you. You're carrying a sack, it's hot out there, you're struggling. Yeah, it's really, really tough for me. I can't wait to finish work. He said, listen, I know you're a good guy, so I got prepared something good for you. That sack is full of diamonds. If you can get to the top of the mountain in the next 10 minutes, you can keep any diamond in there that you want. What happens to that guy? All of a sudden, he's jumping along the mountain, whistling, happy, excited. Why? Because now he feels that, okay, there's a price for this. I'm going to get rewarded for all of this. So that's the thing. Sometimes a person forgets that he's going to get rewarded for all of this stuff. All the difficulties that he has, he's going to get rewarded. It's all diamonds. Because sometimes he thinks that it's coal, sometimes he thinks it's cement, sometimes he thinks the Torah is difficult, the prayers are difficult. He doesn't realize that when he goes to pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he goes to pray, he has an opportunity to meet one-on-one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Most people would kill just to meet with some president or some boss or CEO or some king. You have an opportunity to meet with HaKadosh Baruch Hu whenever you want. You just have to pray to Him. Just have to pray to Him. Most people would kill just to get the blueprint of the success of anybody of the billionaires list, the Forbes 500 list. Every year they publish who's the most wealthy people in the world as far as money is concerned. And everybody would kill just to find out how did you make the first million. You have a Sefer Torah that you can learn that's the blueprint of not only the success of every person that ever lived in the world, but the most successful people that actually live for eternity. You have an opportunity there. So if you see that as a blueprint, and that as diamonds, and everything for what it really is, and then you realize that there is a value to all of that difficulty. There's a lot of value to it, and it's not coming for nothing. Last but not least, I can tell you this from experience. Things that are easy usually do not have bracha. Something comes to you easy, usually it means something wrong. You give people stuff for free, or you got something for free, you have to be very careful with it. Why? Because usually the Yetzer Hara attaches himself to things like that. The things that are the most valuable are things that you work hard for. Something that comes for free usually is something that doesn't have very good fortune that follows it. There's a reason why it's easy. There's a reason. It's because one of the signs that the Yetzer Hara or anything, that gives you that you're working against him is when, he makes your life difficult. If it's difficult for you to give tzedakah, that means that your tzedakah is valuable. If all of a sudden you decide to just start writing checks for $100,000 and it's easy for you, this shul, give them $100,000. That shul, give them $100,000. That shul, give them $100,000. That rabbi, let's build them a playground. It's easy for you to give tzedakah to all of these things. There's something wrong. Why? Usually either those people are not going to use the money for good things, or there's something wrong with you. Why? Because if it's really valuable, it has to be hard. It has to be hard. Why? Because there's a price. There's a price for everything. So if you're giving tzedakah to the right place, that means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is committing to giving you a certain reward. You gave tzedakah, let's say for example, you give tzedakah to one rabbi, let's say you gave him $1,000. And it was easy for you to give. He's your local rabbi, he's a really nice guy, he has a nice things to say on Shabbat, and it's easy for you, for 20 years already you give him $1,000. Okay? Now, another time you sell another rabbi, and you wanted to give, but I don't know, for some reason it was difficult. Either you were supposed to get money, but you didn't get it, and giving it's a little bit more than you wanted to give. I don't know, whatever, there's all types of difficulties of giving. But you know that rabbi, he actually saves people, he gets them to go to Olam Haba and so on. And he gets them to do tshuva. So how come that one is difficult? It should be the opposite. It should be easier to give to the good guy. The other guy is just, I don't know, buying toilet paper with your $1,000. This guy is actually, getting neshamot. Why is it difficult? Because if you donate to the one that saves neshamot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to commit to giving you the reward for it. What's the reward for it? The reward that you get from the one rabbi that doesn't really do much is simply that maybe somebody will do a blessing for one of the cookies that he buys for Shabbat. Maybe somebody will use the toilet paper, so he'll be allowed to pray, after he, goes to the bathroom. So you'll have the merit of somebody being able to pray and, cleaning themselves. Maybe he'll blow his nose in it. Maybe he'll just buy some candy and make kids happy with it. Meaning, the amount of reward that you're going to get out of it is very, very limited, to say the least. On the other hand, the other one that saves neshamot, let's say you give $1,000, okay, just for argument's sake. And only one of those dollars actually succeeded. $1 succeeded, and one of those dollars was, let's say, to buy a disc or a USB or whatever it is. That USB goes to somebody. That person does tshuva. That person starts keeping Shabbat. That person starts protecting their breed. That person starts praying every single day. That person starts giving tzedakah. That person has kids, and those kids go to yeshiva. That person gets married to a Jewish woman and has kids with her and builds a Jewish family. That person eats kosher food, makes blessings, and so on and so forth. Every single mitzvah, that person, his kids, his grandkids, his great-grandkids, his great-great-great-grandkids, all of them, every single one of them will ever do goes to your account. What does that mean that it goes to your account? It sounds nice. It sounds like, a nice pyramid, dividends, all types of good things. What does that mean? If you are really good in this world, and you learn Torah, you do mitzvot, you go to Olam Haba, right? But if you make another person go to Olam Haba, you get 310 more worlds. For your good, you get one Olam Haba. But you making another person get good, you get 310 worlds, 310 more. Meaning you get more rewarded for their good than your own good. Gadola ma'aseh min ha'oseh. Greater is the one that enabled another person to do it than the person that did themselves. So that means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to first and foremost to allow you to donate to someone that's actually going to help people do tshuva. He has to commit to giving you 310 more worlds. So he has to decide, do you deserve it? Does your rest of your account worth it for him to give it to you? He doesn't want to give 310 more worlds to just anybody. It's just like somebody that has a luxurious island. He's not going to give all of his friends a piece of the island. Even if he likes them, it doesn't mean he wants them all on the same island. So that's the thing. And even if he gives it, he's not going to give everybody the same exact thing. Some guy's going to get maybe a little stone. Another guy's going to get a nice piece. Everybody's going to get their own thing based on who and where they stand. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to already at that moment commit to giving you a whole lot more than what you would get yourself from whatever your deeds are. Second thing is that anyone that, in this same example, if you help another person, let's say you buy them challah, or you feed the poor, or you save some animals, or you, whatever good there is else to do in the world, you get rewarded for it. There's all types of mitzvot, there's all types of reward. Hashem sometimes will give you more money, sometimes he'll give you other things, but the point is the reward is a certain amount of reward that, that's quantifiable and limited to a certain extent. But if you help another person do tshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 15, verse 19, Im totzi akar mizolel kepi tiyeh. If you take someone that's a wicked person and you turn him into a righteous person, you help a person do tshuva, you will be like my mouth. Meaning that you make blessings, or you make prayers, HaKadosh Baruch Hu fulfills them. So now, everybody goes to the biggest tzaddikim to go ask for a blessing. Please give me a blessing, please give me a blessing. Why? Because you know that tzaddik says something and HaKadosh Baruch Hu many times fulfills it. But who do those tzaddikim go to? Who do tzaddikim go to? They go to other tzaddikim. But one of the most common things that tzaddikim go to is they go to people that do Kiruv. People that help other people do tshuva. Why? Because there's a verse specifically written in the Torah for them. So that means that when you help another person do tshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to commit, wait, do I want to fulfill his blessings? Let me see what he prays for. Oh, he prays for his team to win. Oh, he prays for the diamond prices to go up. He prays for his Bitcoin to go up. I don't want those blessings to go up. No. Don't let him donate. Don't let him donate. He prays for nonsense. But if a person prays for significant things and HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to fulfill it, then that's the thing. So that's the thing. Everything has a value. Everything has a price. So sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make it more difficult for a person simply because the price, what he has to give you back in return, is a lot more than you can imagine. A lot more than you imagine. Last but not least is that to live a Torah life means that you're living a life with a purpose at all times. And if you look at the world around you, most people are living a life without a purpose. They wake up in the morning to go eat, to go work. They do whatever it is fun for them. Usually has to do with some type of lust, some type of desire, and that's it. You ask them, what do you want to do in the future? In so many words, more of what they're doing already now. Eat, drink, make money so they can eat more and drink more, sleep more and drink more, and in so many words, not very different than the animals that occupy the world. Once problems start happening, they don't really have many answers. Why? Because they ate, they drank the same every single day, and all of a sudden problems appear, so they don't really know why the problems happen in their life. You ask them what happens after, what's the purpose of life? Until now, they thought that it's just to eat and drink and have fun. When a person lives with HaKadosh Baruch Hu as his primary and priority in his life, that means he's not only living life with a purpose every single day, but he also has answers to every question that could possibly exist, because he has the source of where all of these problems come from, where all of the good comes from, where all of the future comes from, where all of the past comes from. And even if the source is something that he doesn't understand, he doesn't understand why it came, he always knows the address, he knows where it came. And that's the key. So when you're living a life with a purpose, that's a life that's requires a lot more thought. So you're thinking on a lot more details than your average person is thinking, that's just living life like some wildebeest. The wildebeest that lives in the field, he doesn't think about what's going to be the weather in 6 months from now, and he doesn't think about whether his kids are going to find shidduchim. He's just thinking about if he could just grab some food right now, and hopefully the lion doesn't catch him. That's what he's thinking about. He lives in the world. A person that's living with a purpose thinks not just what I'm doing, what are my kids doing, who are they going to marry, am I going to have the ability to do it, am I close enough to Hashem, there's Judgment Day, there's Sukkot, there's Chanukah, there's constantly stuff going, constantly stuff connecting you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, constantly stuff connecting you to that original source, and it forces you to think. And that's more difficult. In general, it's more difficult, but at the same token, if you look at it from the right perspective, it's more meaningful. So it's not that the religious people will suffer more than the secular people. There are many times the secular people will suffer just as much or more. But it's the religious person is really supposed to have more explanations and more reasons for his suffering, because his suffering has more value. And I think that if you look at the overall picture of someone that's really dedicated to Torah versus anybody else in the world, the richest people in the world, poorest people in the world, whatever you want, there's no comparison. Because one has happiness, the other one has stuff. And happiness is worth a whole lot more than all the stuff, because usually when you ask those people, why do you have all that stuff? They acquired it because they were looking for happiness. They got it, and they're still missing happiness. So that's the difference.
What's the difference between Emunah and Bitachon, and civil rights and Emunah how do they do with that?
Sure. So Emunah is believing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, and He oversees everything. He's in charge of everything, whether it's the celestial beings, the planets, the plants, the rules of the of everything that's out, the rules of nature and so on, and also people and what's going on in their lives. And bitachon is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu not only is specifically looking at you, but that whatever He gives you is the best possible thing that you can get. So emunah is that Hashem oversees everything that's going on with you and everybody else. Bitachon is having that the confidence that whatever you got is the best choice out of all of the choices that are available to you. For example, we want to go, let's say, from point A to point B. Let's say a person wants to travel from America all the way to Eretz Yisrael. Now, logistically, you could do it in multiple ways. Okay? You can go by a plane, you can go by a boat, you can go by, a swim, you can go, all types of jet ski, you can go in all types of ways, right? You can fly in the air, maybe if you're Superman, there's all types of ways. The point is there's a finite amount of ways to go from point A to point B, right? Hashem wants to bring you from point A to point B. He has also a certain amount of choices to use. Those choices are based on your actions. So He has an infinite amount of ways to take you from point A to point B. But the choices you make in your life, your actions, make those infinite choices finite. Why? Because you don't have the same choice as somebody that does something else. So for example, if somebody is afraid of flying, okay, you can't use a plane to take him from America to Israel. So that's not one of the choices anymore, because he's afraid of flying. So you have to, your other choice is either swimming, or a boat, or jet ski, or some other form of travel, but certainly not flying. Same concept here. You make certain actions in your life, that limits Hashem's choices of how He's going to take you from point A to point B. So either way, you're going to get to point B. It's going to take you to point B. Now, whatever that point B is, when it arrives, our job is to have the confidence in Hashem that whatever that point B is, it's the best possible choice that's available out there. Meaning that even if you don't like this choice because it's painful, it's agonizing, it's late, it's early, it's big, it's small, whatever it is, the bitachon is to believe that this is the best choice that you had out of all of the other choices that were available to you. There are other choices, but they weren't available to you because of the choices that you made. And therefore, bitachon is to know that out of all of the choices that are made, that were available to you, Hashem chose the best one. So that's one of the things that when a person sees that HaKadosh Baruch Hu consistently chooses the things that are the best thing for them, he falls in love with God. Now, if a person dictates what choices are the best choices and doesn't allow Hashem to run His world, if you will, where he thinks that he knows better than Hashem, that person can easily hate God and have questions about God and complaints about God because he thinks that he knows better than God. Why didn't God give me more money? Why didn't God give me this wife or that husband or this dog or that cat or whatever it is that people wish for that they think that they're entitled to? Or if God loves me, why did He take this person away from me? I love that person so much. They don't realize that what Hashem knows behind the scenes. So bitachon is to know that whatever it is that's happening in our life is the best thing, including losses. Now, one of the most difficult questions that people struggle with, especially people that are not very dedicated to Torah, is the Holocaust. Where was God during the Holocaust? Now, if I told you that the Holocaust was the best possible thing that could have happened to the nation of Israel at that time, most people would say, you're crazy, you're like Hitler, and they'll say crazy things. They'll think that I'm anti-Semitic. But the truth is that that's a fact. Why? Because all God does is good. That's a Gemara Meforeshet. That's what Rabbi Akiva says. Everything that God does is the best. There is nothing better, which means that the Holocaust was the best possible choice we as a nation had at that time. It doesn't mean we want it to happen. It means that based on our decisions, that was the best possible thing that could possibly be. Because it was either that or complete annihilation. Because we were annihilating ourselves from the intermarriage and all the other things that we're doing to ourselves. So when a person looks at the entire picture, or at least as much as the picture as available to us as human beings, he realizes that whatever Hashem chose is certainly the best. It's just that sometimes we merit to see those other parts. But we're supposed to have that faith even when we don't see that part. Now, what does a person do in order to do tshuva for, let's say, not having enough faith in Hashem and bitachon Hashem in the past? Simple is to learn more about it. Because the first thing that a person needs to do tshuva for anything is to stop making the same mistakes. Now, when it comes to mistakes with bitachon and emunah, you can't stop making the mistakes unless you've acquired emunah and bitachon. Which means that you have to do step number 2, which is to acquire that knowledge. Acquire that knowledge, learn emunah, learn bitachon, according to the sages, and not the recent people, but the people that have written, works from many years ago. The Beit HaLevi, some of the Hasidim, some of the Tanaim, some of the Moraim, all of the great sages of Am Yisrael have discussed emunah and bitachon. And when you see that those that had the most amount of bitachon typically went through the most amount of difficulty. Like, if you read, let's say, the bio of the Sabamin of Ardok, of Yozel Horowitz, he, somebody that is bitachon was something out of this world. Like, he literally would go into the middle of the woods, stay in some shack that they made, and rely on the fact that Hashem will provide him with everything that he needs. Light, food, everything that he needs. Now, did he have a place to go eat somewhere else? Yes, but he removed himself from that place to go to the middle of the woods in order to test his bitachon. And he would do all types of things. Now, how did this eventually become fruitful? When he started building yeshivot. Now, many of the yeshivot that we have in the world today came from the fruits that he put into the ground. Many of the Gedolei Ador that we had in our world in the last 100 years came from the fruits that he put into the world. The Sabamin of Ardok was one of the Talmidim of Rabbi Yisrael Misalant, and he eventually built 70 yeshivot. One of his Talmidim was the Stipler Gaon. Stipler Gaon was, Rav Kanievsky, alav shalom. These are giants, and these are not the only ones. Many Chachamim that we had in the last 100 years came from what he did. Now, he didn't build yeshivot because he had money. He built yeshivot because there was a need. When everyone else was closing their yeshivot, he was accepting all of their students. Why were they closing their yeshivot? Because there was no money. There was no money to feed the kids. So how are you going to feed the kids then? Well, we don't need money to learn Torah. We need kids to learn Torah. We need passion to learn Torah. How are we going to feed them? That's God's problem. So his mentality of how he treated himself as an individual, he built his bitachon to such an extent that it eventually culminated with him building a world of Torah. But he couldn't start that way. Meaning he couldn't start with that bitachon by building 70 yeshivot. It had to start as him an individual. Him an individual. And the same thing as everybody else. It's the most important work is yourself. Once a person ignites themselves, strengthens themselves enough, that power is going to start influencing the world around them, and HaKodesh Baruch Hu can give them a lot of strength to help a lot of other people. Anything else? Oh, sorry.
As we all are lecture about coming of age, and our as we live by mitzvot that we did, and among the from the mitzvot I would like to talk about that it has a youth the desire to be a part in the army. We the youth would like to be in the army. And what is the person being in the army in this limited human life, and what we more than the land?
The land doesn't need soldiers to protect it. The land needs Torah to protect it. Am Yisrael did not survive for the last 3,300 years because we have a good army. Am Yisrael survived because we have Torah and people that are willing to sacrifice their life for the sake of Torah. So now, even if you had the most powerful soldier ever known to man, like Bar Kokhba was so powerful that the entire Roman army was scared of him. Even the emperor of Rome was scared of him, saying that you cannot fight this person, he's not human. They would go an entire army against Bar Kokhba, and Bar Kokhba would simply defeat all of them. They would shoot boulders. You know what a boulder is? A boulder is a stone that's big as almost half this room. Huge, giant stones. They would fling those stones, and they would break entire castles and walls with those stones. But when they would fling it at him, he would catch it with one hand and fling it back at them. So literally, fighting Bar Kokhba was a complete waste of time, because simply everybody would die except him. So Bar Kokhba took that to his head, and he thought that he was Mashiach. And he thought that he doesn't need God. And he simply said to God, you don't bother me and I won't bother you. So what did God do? He says, okay, no problem, I won't bother you. So when you go to the bathroom, I also won't protect you. And when he went to the bathroom, a little snake, that's one of the messengers of HaKodesh Baruch Hu, went to the bathroom also, went together to the bathroom with them, and both of them were still in the bathroom together. And he died going to the bathroom in a very shameful way. So the point being is that despite the strength of Bar Kokhba, that he was able to defeat an entire army, it wasn't him. It was HaKadosh Baruch Hu instilling the power in him. Why? Because Am Yisrael needed it at the time. But the second Bar Kokhba thought that it was him doing it, Hashem removed it from the world. Same concept with the Israeli Defense Force. The Israeli Defense Force has a job. You need to have some type of army, because if you don't have any type of army, especially in a world like today, the enemy will just run wild. The problem is not that the army in itself. The problem is multiple-fold. Number one, too many people, including religious Jews, put too much value in the army, forgetting that the only reason why the army ever won anything is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed it to happen. It's not because the Israelis are smarter, it's not because the Israelis have better weapons, it's not because they're better fighters, it's not because of any of that. It's because HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. He decided to allow them to win. Why? Because He has a vested interest in allowing the people to exist. Now, does that mean if they didn't have an army, they would still win? Yes, it means that even if they didn't have an army, they would still win. What's the source? The story of Hanukkah. How many people won the entire story of Hanukkah? And not even a minyan of people. The Maccabees were very, very few. And they weren't giborim, they weren't like trained swordsmen and snipers and all types of people that fought. What were they? They were avrichim learning in Kollel. They were learning in Kollel. They were a bunch of skinny guys learning in Kollel. They never picked up a sword in their life. So how did they defeat the entire Greek army? Simple. They did their ishtadlut. You know what their ishtadlut was? They picked up a sword. That's it. They didn't know how to do the sword thing. They didn't know how to do the whole thing that you see like in pictures and movies and stories. They didn't know how to do anything. They just know how to pick up a sword. Like you pick up a knife to cut a steak, they know how to pick up a sword. After they pick up a sword, Hashem did everything else. Hashem made the sword move for them the whole time until they killed everybody. The enemy was not able to move. Their sword simply moved everywhere and killed everybody by the thousands. Why? Because again, it has nothing to do with the person. So the second a person thinks that he's going to go to the army and he's going to protect the country, that's already that's a mistake. That's a mistake, because he is thinking that HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs him in the world to protect this country. It's like the Uzzah. Uzzah was a friend of David HaMelech, and he made a mistake. What was his mistake? The Aron HaKodesh, they were traveling, the Aron HaKodesh he thought that it was about to fall. So he touched it to make sure that it doesn't fall. What happened to him? Hashem killed him on the spot. Why? You think that you need to lift my Sefer Torah? You think I need you to lift my Aron HaKodesh? The Aron HaKodesh lifts itself. The second you thought that HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs you, that's when a person loses their right to live. So the second a person thinks that if he goes to the army, he's going to protect the people, that already puts him in danger. It's better that he doesn't go. That's number one. Number two, how did Moshe Rabbeinu win the most extraordinary war in history? The war that Moshe Rabbeinu fought against the Amalek was the Me'am Loez, Rav Kuli says, is the most extraordinary war that's ever going to be until Gog and Magog, and some say it's even worse than Gog and Magog. Some say that the war that Moshe Rabbeinu fought against the Amalek was even bigger than what Gog and Magog is eventually going to be. And Gog and Magog is going to be atomic war, nuclear war, all types of craziness. The war that Moshe Rabbeinu fought, some say it's even bigger. How did Moshe Rabbeinu win? How? For every 1,000 soldiers, 1,000 people learn Torah. 1,000 people learn Torah, 1,000 soldiers. Why? To make sure you realize that the soldiers, their sword and their snipers and their weapons and whatever they do only works if people learn Torah. So now, Baruch Hashem, we already have a lot of people in the army in Israel, and I don't think we have anywhere near as many learning Torah. Baruch Hashem, there's many people learning Torah. But if you look at the world today, there's not as many people learning Torah as there is people joining the army. So, if somebody wants us to win the wars, they don't have to worry about weapons. They have to worry about God. And they have to worry about the nation of Israel. So if they really care about the nation of Israel, and they really care about the land, then that in itself means that they have to learn more Torah and make that their priority, and not the guns, and not the knives, and not the special training. The truth is, most people are not going to listen to anything I just said, because they're not going to the army because they care about the nation of Israel or they care about the land. They just want some action. They want to kill some Arabs. They want to jump some trees. They want to wake up in the middle of the night. They want all those cool goggles that make you see green. They want to throw some grenades, see some stuff explode. They want they want some action. That's the truth. So the truth is that if they're really looking for the protection of Am Yisrael, they'll go to the Kollel. If they're looking for action, then this question is null and void to begin with. So that's the thing. So a person needs to know that it's a mitzvah to learn Torah, but it's not always a mitzvah to be a soldier. It's not always a mitzvah to be a soldier. Sometimes it is, but not always. Yeah. Don't worry, I don't bite. Even if I was biting, I can't reach you.
Thank you for inviting us from here. My question is, I have a lot of questions I think about many questions, but I don't want to ask the close in myself, so I just want to ask some questions about the three, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So, should I need to read Shiur HaTumah HaZavar or between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? Which is the best? Should I spend my time on this, or should I need to continue on most of I just learn and thought. So,
no, if you're in the middle of a Masechet, then complete the Masechet that you're on. Because the Gemara Masechet Shabbat says that somebody came to Rebbe and asked him a question, and then he got rebuked. He said, how could you ask Rebbe a question about a different Masechet than he's learning? Only learn one Masechet at a time. It's not good to learn more Masechet than at a time unless a person is learning either superficially or they're learning for different reasons. They have different seder and so on. But generally speaking, it's better for a person to learn one Masechet at a time. I can't say they should learn more than one Masechet at a time if they're really smart, because I don't think they're smarter than Rebbe anyway. But the point being is that generally speaking, if you're spending the right amount of energy on learning Gemara, then usually you'll have that energy on one Masechet at a time, and that's the way you should study. So if you're in the middle of the Masechet, finish that Masechet and then move on to something else. If you're in the beginning of the Masechet, meaning you're daf, the third daf, the fourth daf, you just started it, then perhaps it's good for you to take on, let's say, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, or Masechet Ta'anit, or Masechet Yomah, one of the Masechet that has to do with the high holidays, Masechet Sukkah. You could learn those. But generally speaking, today it's when you learn Torah with commentary, you learn, especially when you learn Gemara with commentary by some of the Chachamim, you'll see that every single Masechet is connected to everything else. Meaning that you could be learning, let's say, Masechet Brachot, but still learning things about Sukkot. You could be learning Masechet Yomah, but still learning things about Chanukah. So every Masechet, it's because the Gemara is one central nervous system, and everything is connected one way or the other. So you'll see that you'll learn something about something anyway. So you don't necessarily need to abandon what you're doing and go to something else. You could just stick to what you're doing and you're fine. But just make sure you have a seder and make sure that you're putting as much effort as you possibly can into it. Yes?
So another question, I hope this will be my last question for tonight. It's like this. I have a sister who she went to a resort and they told her that you have to go to Shiur every week. If you go there, you will pay everything for your whole career, everything. So, and I heard from children here that it's not very much good. So what is hoping for Shiur every week? And do they really pay for all the stuff? And what the whole,
Wait, who promised you they're going to pay for everything? The who? Oh, the Mosdot themselves promised they're going to pay you for things that you're doing and they're not paying?
No, I mean, they promised her.
They promised her that they will pay for everything that she will do in her career.
Uh-huh.
She will go to Shiur.
Okay, thank you.
So in such a case, what's the whole stuff about this Shiur? Why in their eyes so much important, and why I saw this from the Shiur, that's not something very good. So what's the whole stuff?
I mean, listen, I can't really speak for other organizations and why they promise what they promise.
It's not a very much religious.
Okay, even religious. There's a lot of religious people that are in the cash advance business too. Just because people are religious in one thing doesn't mean they're religious in everything. I think sometimes people make certain commitments that they think they can stand up to and they can't, or sometimes they have different timing of when their funding comes in. So for example, they made the commitment to give a certain amount of money to a certain amount of people by this time, but the funding to pay for it just didn't come in. Most people are not aware that to run an organization costs a lot of money. You have employees, you have to keep your electric on, you have all types of bills, you have all types of overhead. So even if you do a lot of good, and let's say for example you distribute money to help people eat, to help people have clothes and so on, it's not just the money that you spend on helping people that's your expense. There's expense of doing that. There's employees, there's all types of things. And what most of the public doesn't realize is that it's very, very expensive to run a non-profit organization. It's very, very expensive to help people because you can't help people with the same amount of money as you were able to in the past. You need a lot more money to actually help people. Everything has become much more expensive. And last but not least, it's sometimes the organizations are relying on the people that they're helping to help them, meaning that they're going to commit to, let's say, helping you because they're going to, let's say, give you X amount of money, X amount of help, and they're assuming that because they're committing to helping you, you're going to help them by publicizing their organization, and maybe by default that's going to give them more donation money, and that in itself is going to pay for you. But sometimes people just have their hands out and they're not really helping the company in return. They're not reciprocating. They're just waiting. They think that the company owes the money. They look at it as if the company works for them. And it's a problem, so they don't do their part. They don't publicize. They don't raise money for them. They don't help them. And what ends up happening is that too many people do that. So when the time comes and they actually need to pay people, since they didn't get what they were supposed to get, they don't have the money for it. So that's another reason. So again, I don't think usually people make commitments because they want to break them, especially non-profit organizations and the people that are out there to simply help people by giving them food and whatever it is. I think it's just sometimes either they didn't plan well, or something went wrong with the plan, or simply the plan didn't work. It was flawed to begin with. So, but I don't think that they started it to give you or anybody else promises just because they want to mess with you. They have no benefit. If they're already crooked, usually they're not crooked with the regular people. Usually they will be crooked with the donors or with people that are giving them money and contracts and things like that. So usually with people, it wouldn't necessarily be that way because they would have to keep the engine going. But again, I don't know as far as that specific case. I'm just giving you a general consensus of what's going on out there. I think, what time is it?
סיום ש"ס.
אה.
יש אנשים
כן.
שרוצים לצרף, ושתיים יש שקיות מוכנות עם דברים.
אוקיי.
שכל אחד יכול
בסדר.
לקחת וגם לקחת לאחרים.
Okay, בסדר. Okay, so two things we're going to finish up with tonight is one, each person that's here, there's a special bags outside with USBs and all types of other stuff that's there. Also, for anybody that knows how to read Hebrew, there is a copy of one of the new chapters of my new book. It's not the whole book. This is just one of the sections. By the new book that Bezrat Hashem is going to be coming out in the next few months is about Devar Torah, about every part of the Chumash. This is the entire Sefer Dvarim. So it's the new book is called Or Levana. Anybody that wants, I have a few copies of it. Of Gidon Ben Moshe and his kollels, gave me a gift, and they sponsored this. And Baruch Hashem, we have some of the copies over here for anybody that knows how to read Hebrew and is going to read this. But there's also a lot of other stuff that's in the bag that's outside for you to take for yourself as well as to give other people. So you can go home and help some other people learn what we learned here today. It's all free. There's Baruch Hashem, plenty of stuff for everybody. That's number one. Number two, anybody that wants to take learning more seriously and needs a little bit of an incentive, we have a new program right now where we just had an event, Baruch Hashem, of Siyum Shas, Siyum Zohar, Siyum Shulchan Aruch, Siyum Tikkun Zohar, Siyum Mishnah, a bunch of things, Baruch Hashem, with different people that are part of the organization. And Baruch Hashem, nearly 2,000 people showed up, or even more than 2,000 people showed up. Next year we're planning another event, and during that event we're planning to have at least 100 people complete the Shas in 1 year. 100 people complete the Shas in 1 year. So we're looking for people. We already have about probably close to 50 people that have signed up. And believe it or not, completing the Shas in 1 year is not that difficult. If you're dedicated and you in essence fight for the time, you can do it. But if you're looking to be one of those people that is just gonna enjoy life and go for a cafe twice a week and have luxurious lunches and watch TV or watch YouTube videos for fun, you're not going to finish Shas ever. So it's one of those things where you have to study extra hard. You have to make sure you dedicate time. But in so many words, if you already know how to learn, it could take you an extra 3.5 hours a day. 3.5 hours a day, you can finish the Shas in 1 year. If you don't know how to learn, probably 7 hours. Probably 7 hours. Either way, you can do it. Everybody can do it. Everybody has 24 hours a day. So we're looking for 100 people at least to finish the Shas in 1 year. So whoever does it, whoever actually succeeds in it, we're going to give them 10,000 shekels as a gift. And also they'll be part of this big event next year. So we already have about 50 people that have signed up. Anyone that wants to sign up, send an email to yossi@bhtorah.org. Once you sign up, obviously we'll put you up on the list. Rabbi Ephraim will be in touch with you from time to time to check on you, to see where you're at, obviously to test you, to see that you're in you actually are reading it and not just telling us that you're reading it. But most importantly, it's one of those things that once you have it, once you complete the Shas, once you complete this, there's literally nothing in the world that you can't achieve. There's nothing in the world that you can't achieve, because once you have the Shas, you have everything. And once you know that you can learn the Shas, and not only learn the Shas in a single year, you'll know that you can learn a whole lot more. And there are different ways to learn it. There is different Daf Yomi Shiurim that are online, that you can learn a Daf Yomi literally in 20 minutes, 30-minute Daf Yomi, and you could do 7 Dafim. Go over the page itself. There's several Daf Yomi websites and so on. You go over the page, serious teachers that could teach you the Daf usually in 25 minutes or less. And you could do 7 Dafim. 7 Dafim a day, you finish Shas in 1 year. So it's not rocket science. It's not so hard. It's not as hard as people think it is. But you have to be committed. You have to understand it. You have to be focused and not have the Daf Yomi playing in the background, while you're working. So if the people that have done it already with us, Baruch Hashem, it's transformed their life. And one of the reasons why we're doing it is because we know that people can do a lot more than they think. The Daf Yomi that Rav Shapira started years ago of completing the Shas once every 7 years is a very, very big thing. But it was meant for Balabatim. It was meant for people that work. and learn. It wasn't meant for yeshiva bachurim. It wasn't meant for avrichim. What happened in the last 80 years is that it became that. Now the aspiration is to do daf yomi. You're a bachur in yeshiva, daf yomi. You're an avrech in a kollel, daf yomi. You finish a shas once every 7 years. You're in a kollel for 20 years. You finish a shas 3 times. You feel like you've achieved something. Now, if you're a balabait working full time, yeah, you achieve something. But if you're learning full time, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not considered achieving something. Why? You could do a lot more. Your neshama is huge. You could do a lot more. So the goal is to show people that the achievements of the Gdolei Ador, the Rav Kanievskis of the world that completed the Shas, every single year. My dear friend, Rav Summers, that completes the Shas Bavli and Shas Yerushalmi every single year, and other Chachamim, Rav Ephraim, and others that have completed the Shas many, many times, they're not exceptions as far as because they complete the Shas. You can do the same thing. You have to have the same dedication though. So that's the thing. The goal is for us to show people that there is a difference. When someone is a Bachur Yeshiva or someone is a serious scholar, they can do a lot more than just Daf Yomi. So we're looking for at least 100 people to succeed in it. That means that we're probably going to have to get about 300 people to sign up. We have about 50 or so. I'm assuming that probably within the next few weeks we're going to get as many as we can. The list has to close up probably within the next, 2 weeks? When are we closing the list? Sign up. So the sign up has to finish within the next couple of weeks because we want to have the event around the same time next year. So we can't have everybody starting the Shas at different months. Everybody start around the same time. So anyone that's serious, anyone that wants to take it on, like I said, it's not so hard. There's different strategies of how you could learn it. Anyone that wants to take it on, it's an opportunity to learn. It's also an opportunity to make some money, and it's an opportunity to make a big Kiddush Hashem. And B'ezrat Hashem, we'll all succeed, we'll all get closer to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, we'll all publicize Torah. Please feel free to take the bags and USBs to share them with your friends and to make sure that Am Yisrael does Teshuva during this month, so at least when we go up to HaKodesh Baruch Hu during the Yamim Noraim, the holy days, we have something to say that's new, that we've acquired over this last month. Baruch Adonai L'olam, Amen v'Amen.